Frank, man. King of Chats showed up, so that means it is time for RantCast. This is episode 39. I'm joined tonight by two just legends of the community from the Rerolling Ones over on YouTube. Yeah, we got Jack there on my left and Brent on the right. Say hello, guys.
What's up?
I'm Brent.
There you go. There, see, for the pure audio format, you gotta say something when I introduce you, so they can that's who that is.
Well, you said Jack, and you didn't say Brent. So.
Well, I noticed every video, we're stuck in this mode of introducing ourselves the same. You figured that out, right? You got to do yours. It's Jack. What?
Oh yeah, it's Jack.
Yeah. There you go.
That's my catchphrase, I guess.
Yeah, that's great.
Hi everybody, it's Brent.
Perfect. Look at that.
After I watched 5 videos where I did that, I was like, what have I done?
Yeah, we do all our catchphrases. Stands alone. See?
Too early. Can't give that away yet.
Coming in hot already. Soren the Mad Lad already popping off with 5 gift subs for Chat Gang there, so thank you for that, Soren. And I, of course, am the magical Mr. Mephisto, the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar. My new bestowed moniker from Vince Venturella himself. Tonight we're going to be talking about bat reps. We're going to be talking about the community, and we're gonna do something I don't often do on RantCast, which is talk about a battle tome. So we're going to talk a little bit about Seraphon tonight because Seraphon are sweet, and we should talk about sweet things on RantCast. But first of all, we're just gonna address the elephant in the room. Obviously, Adepticon just got canceled. It sucks. There's really no way to state it other than it sucks. For me, I mean, y'all were gonna go, right?
Yeah, it was gonna be my, if you count LVO as a convention, which is kind of it's a convention. I went to Nova last year, which I got the bug. I wanted to go to as many as I can, and everybody was telling me, you really want to go to Adepticon. It's like the granddaddy of them all. And so I'm like, okay. And I was really excited for Brent and Shu to go.
We've never been to any.
Yeah, because when you meet people in person who love who love what you do, and you feel so appreciative of how, because we're just some friends goofing around on the internet, and when you hear some people's stories, there's a guy, Ben, he was going through a hard time. He had a test, a cancer scare, boils down to it. And he told us that watching his video was the first time he had laughed since getting the diagnosis, that the doctor wanted to see him back in there. And hearing little stories like that just from us goofing off online, and I got to meet that guy, and I wanted them to experience that too, meeting, I don't want to say fans, that's weird, but people who enjoy
community,
people who enjoy your content.
Yeah,
that's why I really wanted them to go, and I wanted to beat some people in AOS.
We're gonna go with Doug, 2+ Tough, and then our friend Greg, aka Cranky Old Gamer. So we had a group, and now I think for maybe a week and a half we've been trying to figure out. So what do we want to do alternatively?
Yeah.
Well, it does, and I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for everyone right now, or tease it, I suppose, is the radio or the broadcast term. Martin Orlando sent me a message. I guess you guys were talking to coach and stuff, sort of.
Yeah, we were talking to AOS coach last night about it.
Yeah, AOS coach last night. That's about the time I got the message from Martin Orlando, because it was okay, looks like maybe Adepticon. This is still maybe Adepticon's not gonna happen territory. And we're we need a contingency plan, something to give the community some hope, an opportunity to show off all their hard work, because people have been grinding for Adepticon, man. I've been grinding on getting my display board. Yeah.
Trying to paint,
learning it, right, picking it up, and you want to. I think it's going to be really important to have this, just something to show for it, and so we're planning on that same weekend of Adepticon, a bunch of content creators essentially doing sort of a internet marathon extravaganza with a hashtag, some Discord hangouts, and basically old school cable television. We're gonna have a schedule put together of whose shows to watch when. I think it's all very, very preliminary. We don't know for certain, but we started the ball rolling last night, and hopefully just something to give back to the community, something to say, hey, we see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything.
Something to do too. People block this off for Warhammer, and then if the best thing a lot of people can do is isolate, stay inside, not go to a big old convention, then great. Like, we would love to encourage that and hopefully have some fun stuff to do while you're hobbying or hanging out at home.
Yeah. Yeah,
We got a
anything.
great game for it, too.
Yeah, we got a great game for staying home and playing for hours, turns out. So yeah, like just having some constant content going, encouraging people to, you know, to like schedule their own like mini tournament. An idea I had was like hobby grudge matches, like because you know there's probably some people finishing out their hobby would be this week or next week. Well, still finish it. Grudge somebody. Be like, I know you were grinding those last 500 points. You know, like I've got about 500 points. Grind it out. Like throw the hashtag up. That hashtag going to be hashtag Adepticon at home or hashtag Adapticon is also one of the other ones I've heard. And you know, grudge somebody. Show pictures of your progress. And again, just keep the community going. Give us something pumped. I know I still have the days off. I'm probably just gonna be glued to my computer anyway. So
Yeah,
like,
I actually, because I'm very busy in my job, just because the current climate, and I had the days off, and my bosses were like, "Is there any way that we can get you to work during these days?" And now, you know what? I'm gonna, GDP, get that paper. I'm definitely gonna hit Nova now. I definitely need to get another convention in me.
yeah. The convention scene is. I mean, I'm a big proponent of like going to a tournament, going to a convention, and it's. You know, I know that everyone kind of has like a similar progression where like you see the like TGA or Twitter or Facebook is like kind of your first like, oh my god, competitive people are competitive monsters at tournaments and conventions. That's all that's there. And then like you go there and like, no, really, it is just an excuse to see all my friends and like have this thing in common. And the fact that there's a game almost, you know, there's people there to compete and win it all. But that's like 10% of them, and the rest are there to just drink beer, throw dice, and sometimes they're all out of beer. So like,
There's a good chance that you wind up in that middle. You're not facing, something horrifying anyway, unless you're like super good.
Yeah, and
So
oh, go ahead.
during the team tournaments, it was going to be you,
Yeah.
Halo, Twitch, Tom, and somebody else.
Yeah, and Benjamin Sava. We were gonna go headhunting. We were gonna crush people,
Yeah.
but
it was going to be me, Brent, Shu, and our buddy Greg, Cranky Old Gamer.
Yeah.
And we were going to lose bad to everybody, but we were going to have fun.
we like Tom. I can't even remember when Tom sent me and Halo the message, and I mean it was months ago. Like we're talking months, and we're already scheming. You know, we're already like planning synergies and lists. And I'm like people. I mean, Benjamin is a very good player. Tom was a game away last Adepticon from winning, like going undefeated. Like just last game of the day, last game of the tournament. That was it, right? Like on his daughters. He has one team event. Like very skilled players. Halo is pretty much a paragon of his fatties there of the Maw tribes. And I was just gonna like easy mode and cheat with Petrifex. So I mean,
Jack had asked me, he's like, "What's your Night Haunt list?" And I was like, "Whatever I might get done painting."
You're gonna have the starter box from Soul Wars of Night Haunt.
Yeah,
was
like
bring
that and like the Black Coach.
Yeah.
I was bringing Archeon, so I had some.
But that's the
Shu
thing.
finished his models though. His Phoenix turned out really awesome, and
See, that's
now you got to see it in action.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll hopefully we get to see that on the next Bat Rep pretty soon here, and with this hashtag, just get those images up on Twitter, right? One thing I find about events though is you really do kind of like settle in with like the right tables. You know, like taking one loss from a person there to win it all won't ruin your weekend. You know, like
Right, you have 4 more.
Yeah, you've got 4 more. If you walk away with 3 wins and 2 losses, or even 2 wins and 3 losses, but because you caught a bad beat, but you made some friends. I mean, my best memories are actually of like game losses. You know, I mean, Jeremy Cooper from Age of Sigmar, like that's how I met him, was losing to his freaking Seraphon at Adepticon. And you know, we just had this came down to the last priority roll type amazing game, and it was fantastic. So I mean, if you manage your expectations at a convention. You know, if you manage your expectations at a tournament, I think that's one of the biggest things is, you know, knowing your own army, knowing your own rules. Just so that you don't feel pressured. You don't to make decisions in the moment and to like scramble through your stuff. That just feels bad for yourself. Don't put yourself in that situation. And me as your opponent, I'll forgive you, man, if you got to look up your rules. Don't worry about me, but I don't want you to feel overwhelmed at the table. And from there, it's just manage your expectations. You know, like you'll have a blast if you go in, you know, just going, I want to have a great time. You will never lose. Like, go ahead.
A lot of people who like don't get a lot of games in, it's a great way to get in 3 games or 5 games depending on the tournament.
Right.
And if you're not that skilled, don't be afraid because like you might lose that first game, but then you probably will get paired with a similar skill set opponent or army that's on a similar tier. So it won't just be, you know, you're getting crushed 3 times. Because I point out to some players like tournaments can be unfun if you're not used to that kind of playing where it's like hyper tuned competitive stuff where you can be surprised a lot. You just like, but when you lose, you learn. And so like just getting the right mindset that I'm here to play 3 games at Age of Sigmar. If you're new to a tournament, I'm not here to win. I'm just here to compete and see how it is.
Right.
That would have been good 1 and 4. So.
Oh yeah, we definitely would want 1.
I was also looking forward to my idea was because I was trying to set up Warcry games like kind of throughout the Adepticon weekend too, and like start a warband at the beginning of Adepticon and then see at the end where did they wind up, who became awesome, who lived, who died, right. Just, you know, as like an experiment to see like you have a few days to get in as many Warcry games as you can go.
Well, I mean, you said something kind of earlier on. I mean, it's an excuse to get in 3 games or 5 games, and that warband notion kind of piggybacks off that too. It can take you a month to get 5 games in, or even 3 games with RL. You know, you get a weekend set aside, you're going to get all 3 games in. If you go in to learn the lesson, have fun, or like give yourself your own little like narrative or your own little quest, right? Like with your warband, like you can really enrich the amount of fun you have at these events. I had I had your boy actually Mike Davis on last week. He was talking about like sort of the mindset of his competition between MMA competing on that level and Age of Sigmar, and we also threw a little bit of shade at Magic the Gathering, but I mean, just I saw that. You saw that. He also had some words for you, but I guess we'll never know what happens with the Roughnecks and
I lost that bet. I have to paint another model. But the thing is, when we made the bet, it was before the XFL season even started.
Yeah.
And his team is the best in the league, and mine's the worst.
Yeah.
And I have to paint another Beast of Chaos there.
All right, you want to reset this a little bit for people who are maybe catching it or just parachuting
Is that
in?
what the Malachor model is for?
Yeah. Okay. So it's actually you meet a lot of cool people through this hobby.
Yeah.
And I like to talk trash. Speaking of trash talking, do you remember that game? What was it? 2013 when we no, it was 2012 when we got the immaculate interception.
Yeah. Oh.
Dope, man. I was in the stadium for that one.
So I have you to blame. I have you to blame. Okay, so for those of you who may not watch much sports ball, Jack here was just throwing some shade at me because I'm a huge Packer fan and he's a massive Seahawks fan. Or
we're talking massive trash last week, Brent.
or you know, like sea pigeon or it's a seagull. It's a seagull. Come on.
Seagulls are nasty, man. Don't watch your fries.
You are a laborer. You're the Green Bay.
That's right. The heart of America, man.
Anyway, so back to Mr. Davis. So
yeah.
He's a fan of the Ravens. I don't see how. He's Canadian. He should be a fan of the Ottawa Rough Riders or whatever's up there. But he's a fan of the Ravens. So we made a bet. If the Ravens beat the Seahawks, he would paint. Because if you look at my Stormcast army, they're all in Seahawks colors. Mm-hmm. And then I transferred that to my Cities of Sigmar army. Like this is the
quite literally the
Griffin
Seahawk. Yeah.
I'm working on right now.
Right.
It's blue there and
Seahawks
colors.
Yeah,
It's nice when you have a whole I have a design for my order. They're all in the Seahawks blue and green. And so if I won, he would paint a model in my team's color and send it to me. A model, reasonable, not like a some $50 or anything. We're talking about $25 model.
Star Drake.
And so he would send it to me. Anyway, the Ravens ended up winning, so I painted up a was it Morgor the Beast? Malagor, yes. And I painted that up, and it's sitting over there. It's in the Raven colors. It's pretty good. And then so we made another bet, which the XFL team was a Seattle team, and he picked the Roughnecks because he's a roughneck.
Yeah, he works in oil rigs. Yep.
Yeah, and I lost again. So I didn't like painting my own models. So me painting the model for somebody else, I still have shoes model here that I'm supposed to paint for Christmas. Okay, that's how much I hate painting other people's models.
Our Christmas gift exchange. It was Jack's idea, and then we get to the table, and he's like, "I'm not done."
Yeah.
I actually painted Army. I watched that gift exchange. 2+ Doug 2+ Tough was in there. That video was really. I'm not gonna say I was tearing up for it, but it got me feeling some kind of way, right in the feels, man.
It was pretty wholesome.
It was a really, it was like a little 14-minute video, like just super chill. You got a Seahawks model there. I think was it Doug painted
It's awesome.
The guy with the football.
Yeah, the football.
Where's that guy?
He's right. He's up top, and it's just we try to get across in our battle reports is a group of friends who love each other.
Yeah.
We're just we're close guys, and that's not how it started. I've only known these guys since 2017. It's not like we're super old friends. Like the Age of Sigmar brought us together, and then we became friends. Which segue. Great. I can tell you.
Yeah. Look at that segue perfectly into the topic for me. So how did you guys get started with battle reps? Where did Rerolling Ones come from? Like, you want to kind of take me through how you did meet through this fantastic game? Because I agree. Like Tomb King Tristan, Marok Wolf, like some of these guys are some of like my best friend, like actual friends, and I met through just this game, right? Like. Hell, Tristan and I have never thrown dice with each other, and it's like he's one of the dudes I talk to every day. So
it's great. Like it's something that brings you close together. We may not have the same political views and stuff. We leave all that at home, but we definitely
do we? I don't know.
Yeah, we definitely vibe on. We definitely vibe on AOS.
Yeah, the mad lad Soren here in chat, like he painted me a model for Christmas, like he's. Awesome. Hell, I don't think RantCast is a thing without Soren here, man. Frank, these connections you build through the game, I mean, that's what it's about. That's why, with the Adepticon, whatever, man, I'm not worried a whole lot because it had to be done, and the community's stronger, bigger than that. We'll see it through. So yeah, you guys, how'd you meet? I guess how'd y'all meet?
So. Shu was indeed just like a guy on the internet who wanted to play Age of Sigmar with people because it's 2015, the game is getting started. Not a lot of people very enthusiastic about it. So to find somebody who's like, hey, I don't know this person, but do you want to meet up at... And we have like a really cool game store over in Seattle called Mox Boarding House. It's like a cafe and... a gaming store. It's really neat if you ever come
exactly
out
what I would exactly what I would expect from Seattle, like cafe plus anything else. Yeah.
It's actually
sounds like what was the name of the place again? Sounds like my kind of a jam.
Mox Boarding House.
Mox Boarding House. Awesome.
There's 2 locations, but so like that's how I met Shu, and then Shu was having games and did the same thing with Jack. So like we did all meet through the game, but as far as the channel. She had been building up kind of like everything to just like, we're going to play in my house. We don't have to leave, So it's like building his own set of terrain, building his own table. Like for sure he is the hobby chief of Rerolling Ones. He's the guy who learned kind of all these tips and tricks and just puts out a lot of whether it's, painted models or scenery. That's definitely what he's best at, and he was really inspired. At the time that, so this would have been around 2015. There was mini wargaming, and I think I want to say in the beginning they were sort of not hot on Age of Sigmar. Guerrilla Miniatures Games was definitely not, like, they did some Age of Sigmar, but there's one channel called Tabletop Minis where this was like pure open. No, this was Tabletop Minis. Yeah, it was pure open play. There's no points yet. So anybody else kind of like watching that video would probably be like, what is the point of playing this game? But we really liked that because it was, I mean, it's better now, but we liked seeing that like they had to cater the game kind of in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And then flash forward kind of a while to, you know, post General's Handbook, post like people actually like the game.
Mm-hmm.
She would have been going back and forth about like, oh, you know, I want to do like a bat rep, but I need to get this camera, I need to do this. And eventually I just like pushed him out the door, which is typically not like a thing that I do in my life, to be like, you're ready, do it now. And yeah, so I was like, let's just do it. Let's just film the first one. And then we did Magic of Nurgle that I played, and he played Warherd, and I crushed him, and that was the first video. But it was like us
Big question
experimenting,
right?
Yeah. From there, then a lot of consistency, because then it was like, okay, we did one, and then I want to say, you know, like
I was the second one. I did Slash.
Like a week later.
Yeah,
I think it was like Slanesh and Sylvaneth.
Mm-hmm.
And that was key, is like we never, maybe we're getting other things too. It's like we didn't say, you know, like this is how often videos will come out, but we did keep it going.
Yeah. And so how I met them through Doug from 2 Plus Tough, because like 2017, I remember because KO was the latest White Dwarf, so they had just been released. But I played Warhammer in 4th edition when I was like 9 years old, because my brother's 6 years older than me, and like whatever your older brother does, you know, he makes his little brother too. He wanted to play Warhammer, and you know, we grew up in inner city, not the greatest neighborhood. So, and he was very, like, he couldn't be open about being like a nerd, because essentially he's a very interesting guy, because like we grew up, like he was a gang member, a lot of gang members around thing, but he's also into like high fantasy, so like J.R.R. Tolkien and selling crack, and so but he protected me from like the rough stuff, so I got all the nerd and none of the hood, and but it's funny because my brother he would play Magic, but since he was a Crip, he only played like a blue deck.
That's right.
I've never heard this.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and so like, can you swear?
Yeah, go ahead, man. I got
so he plays like Magic and Warhammer, like a stereotypical black guy plays dominoes.
Oh,
and so we're playing Magic, and he'd be like, hold up, tap, counterspell, nigga, and so like he's a trip. And he's been on the channel before a couple times. But but anyway, Joe Toka, that's him, and he's a good guy. And so I would play I was High Elves, because he came in 4th edition box, and he would play Dwarves, and I was awful, you know, because I'm a little kid and I'm just pushing myself forward. And so we played 4th, 5th, and a little bit of 6th, and then we kind of just fell off. And then like 15 years later, he was like, hey man, we should play Warhammer again. And we go play Warhammer, and it's something completely different. It's like, all right, what happened to Warhammer that we know? And so we were just really like, okay, what happened? End times, all this stuff. And so we go to the YouTube and, you know, find 2 Plus Tough and you know, mini wargaming, stuff like that. And I was listening to 2 Plus Tough to find out the lore and stuff. And he mentioned there was a podcast that was local to him that was in Portland. So I was like, oh, I thought he lived in Portland. So I hit him up, and like he just lives like in like the city where my kids live, and so which is like a half hour away from me. And so we meet up for a game, and I'm assuming this guy is the best player on planet Earth because he's on the internet. And so me and my brother have been playing for like 6 months, and we can't find anybody who plays this game because there was a dark time. Like, I would go to the store, I'd go to Mox, what he's talking about, and they were selling everything 20% off and higher because nobody plays this game. And so I'm stacking up, and then so we're playing just against each other, and I finally played Doug, but I've honed my army to kill my brother's army. So I'm like, so I bring that nasty list to fight Doug, and I beat him like in the first 2 turns. And but we became friends.
This is the beginning of your nasty streak.
I'm the most competitive out of the group. And so he's like, hey, let's get together for Triumph and Treachery at Shu's house. And that's how I met Shu and Brent with Doug, and I brought my brother along. And when I first met Shu, I thought he was Mormon. because he has a ton of kids and he's super nice, and I
Yeah.
just assumed.
Yeah, it's
I
like the
was
South
oh,
Park episode. Like they're weird, but they're nice.
Yeah, I so thought he was Mormon because he had 4 kids, and no, he had 3 kids at the time, but now he has 4, and just people are so happy to have you come in his house. I'm like, all right, where's the Latter-day Saints book? I know you had to give it to me. So
Just like slides it
yeah.
off. Like,
Yeah.
My grandma's Mormon too, so it's just like, and you're just like, it's, oh man, yeah, it's stereotype, but it's still funny.
Sit down and talk to us about Jesus Christ. It was, but I
Oh, that's
remember
great.
going
That's
to
great.
Brent, and I thought Brent was like a not a know-it-all, but he would like I would say something and he would double check. I'm like, what, you don't trust me? And then I'd be wrong. I'm like, okay, you know
Well,
the
like,
rules.
you just
yeah,
did
I
the
was like,
cold.
you weren't wrong.
You are wrong. You just did the cold.
I mean, I was wrong.
The cold
But,
open
yeah,
for the
we
Warhammer
kinda-
with Brent, just like in the book. That was fucking great, by the way. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, you meet the guys. You
No problem. And then yeah, it was because Shu had already had the name Rerolling Ones, which is a great name, and the intro like video, the graphic,
Mhm.
he had all that already. And then he was just like, I want to do this battle report, and I was like, hey, I'm in, let's do it. You know, I'm always already a big fan of still am a big fan of mini wargaming, and you know, we actually watched their video on how to record a bat rep.
It's like an old video that I don't know that a lot of people have seen, but yeah, they put out like an instructional video about making a bat rep, and it's probably just been lost to time, but like that's how we learned to do it.
Yeah, and you guys actually went on Reddit and asked what would people look for in a bat rep channel, and everybody was like, somebody who gets the rules right. And I can tell you, we try.
Even like 4 years ago, people are like throwing shade about getting the rules right. Yeah.
Yeah, we try. I mean, I feel awful when we get something wrong, because to me it's like it goes from being a game of Age of Sigmar to being something that I guess is not canon. You know, because this is not an actual game, because now we're doing goofy rules that this shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't feel good about it. But you have to be like a cornerback, going back to a sports reference. Like if someone gets a touchdown on you, or a quarterback, if you throw a pick, you just got to go
Short
to the
memory.
next one.
Yep, short memory.
Yeah, I can't. I'm still angry that I was re-rolling hit rolls with my my Dreadlord on Black Dragon, but it's wound rolls proc on the
Yeah,
Venom
the
sword.
Venom Blade.
Yeah, I was like, I can't believe I was doing it on hits, and now it still bugs me. And that was like 5 videos ago.
A couple, but yeah, that was it was a fight with my bloodthirster.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
No shade there.
I was
at
gonna
all.
lose anyway, right?
Yeah.
And the sketches, because that's I guess what we're known for is the sketches before.
The cold opens are legendary. Yeah, they're the best. I just went through like 30 videos preparing for this. Only watch the cold opens, skip the bat reps.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
You know how to play.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that as far as. But the originator of the sketch was Brent.
Kind
It
of.
started with you, the one where she was in the shower.
Oh, you're right.
That was your idea. And then it, like, we were running down the hallway, and then they got more elaborate. We got like green screen, and then now we just open a door, go into a room.
We'll get back to more. Yeah. If you want kind of like the origin of that, like the very first videos were just like us introducing who we were, but if sort of like you messed up the take, that usually wound up being the clip that was in the video.
It was a
it's
funnier
like,
one.
oh, it's funny, right? And then later we're like, well, what if we made a funny one, but it's like still starts off with us like saying our names, and then we stop doing that. In like the very last one that we do that in, I think is my favorite, because Jack wears a Brent costume where I have like this like red, very Pacific Northwest flannel and a beard, and then you got a fake beard and like the same beanie, and then there's like an argument of like, no, I'm Brent.
Yeah, that was.
I enjoy that one because you don't know who's Brent. It's very hard to tell.
And it's like I did stand-up comedy for 6 years, and so being funny by myself was something I got good at. But it's very interesting, like, and it can be frustrating in a team aspect, trying to be funny, or like trying to come up with
timing.
Protective of your idea. Like, no, you're ruining my idea with your crappy idea.
Right.
Leave it over there. but it's also great when you have something that's funny, and then Brent will say, "Oh, what about this?" And because we all have our different skill sets. Like Brent is a writer. That's what he has. He's written comic books.
Represent.
So like you're like, "Hey, can you write this out?" And he'll just pull out his phone. How's this? And you're like, "That is an impressive talent." So if you go back to our failed our skirmish series, he wrote a lot for that, but people don't like skirmish, so nobody watched it.
I was like, it
No.
was complete. It just wasn't popular.
No, I actually like until he said you were a writer, I'm like, do you know that you're unintentionally doing something you're supposed to do in writing? Which is so no, like obviously you're being intentional by doing the cold opens. A lot of the times you're keeping the same energy or the same character regardless of if I know your name or not. So by watching the cold opens, I get to know these sort of like exaggerated versions of you guys. And then I'm like by doing these 30-minute to sometimes like 1 minute 1 minute 30 sort of cold opens, I get to feel like I know you guys better than just, hey, it's me on the show doing the thing. Like I get to know you better with these exaggerated ones. Like for instance, you didn't have to tell me Shu was the terrain guy. I watched the one where it's like the cake. I'm just like, brilliant. Like brilliant. Like because that one sticks out with me because I had just like thought somebody's terrain on the internet was cake.
I saw one of those too. Yeah.
I'm just like, is that like I had to do the double take because they had the pine bark chunks on it, and it, like, and when you're fast scrolling, right, like I'm fast scrolling, I'm like, are those Oreos on a cake? I'm like, why didn't I think to put Oreos on the cake before I frost it? And I'm like, oh shit, that's terrain. Like, so that episode, and like Rocco says here, is that Shu's wife has been stealing the show lately, and I think I agree.
That can come up also in the negative parts of being on the internet.
Right.
Like, cause it's great. You meet a lot of great people, but I've noticed after the more popular we got, like, cause you cast a wider net.
The haters.
And eventually you're gonna catch some crabs in there.
You get some haters.
People who are just like the only negative. Like the first time Shu's wife appeared on camera, somebody said something about she has a lesbian haircut or something. And like it kind of there's some stuff people say you're like
banned.
Yeah, quick. But it's like, but 99% of it's positive.
Right.
Like, just like when I go to tournaments, I say 95% of my games have been great. Opponents have been great, but it's not all roses and sunshine. You're gonna meet people who are just, who actually in tournaments who cheat.
Yeah.
It's out there. Like people do cheat at the game. It's not, people steal in real life.
Yeah.
You're gonna get that similar, kind of person out there playing Warhammer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like what you mentioned about like the sports cornerback especially has to have that short memory because QB knows where the ball's going before the defense does. They're going to complete some passes on you, right? So you got to have that short memory, get back in it. I feel the same way about like cheaters. Like I'm not paranoid of the cheaters, but they exist because I'm not going to let you ruin my fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to let some hypothetical bad person ruin my fun before I've even played a game. So I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. I tend to do that thing where I go, oh, like, is that how that works? Or, what's giving them that bonus? And, like, I ask the question rather than going, that doesn't work that way. But, like, it just, like, I don't know. I caught my first few haters the other week on the internet, and I'm just like, all I do is be happy about Age of Sigmar. How could anyone have a problem with that? And then, just...
Can't please everybody.
Oh, dear.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna not like you. Just
Yeah, there's a sweeping generalization, but 30% of the people are going to love you, 30% of the people are going to hate you, and 30% aren't going to care. It's just, it's obviously 33% repeating, but it's like, I think that's kind of true. And early on, when your following is smaller, it's the passion people that watch, right?
Yep.
Like first you get that passion demographic, people who are passionate about Age of Sigmar 2, people who are looking for any content they can find, some subject you're on, whatever. So like you get that sort of like positive vibe early. Once you hit a certain mass, I don't think I'm there yet. I just say meaner things than the average person, I guess. When you hit a certain mass, then you're gonna get that net gets wider, like you said, and you get you start to get the haters. But I just go ahead. It looks like you got a point there.
Oh, it's interesting. Like you said, you get the loyal fans. You like what fans you attract, because we have fans who've been with us from the beginning, who like they're the type of fans who love narrative. I've noticed they stick with you. Whereas like if you're there for the competitive game, like or crap, they're just there to watch the video. And then you get some people who are just like really hate mini wargaming, and then will like heap praise on you like unjustly, because no mini wargaming, there's not us. Like they were the benchmark. I still watch some other. I don't really watch bat reps as much anymore because I feel they're more geared to newer players. Because that's when I was really into bat reps. Is like when I was newer and less competitive. It was like you kind of learn stuff like, and they're really good for when new armies come out. See like some of the new rules and how the interactions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so your Seraphon one will probably get a lot more hits than say like this Iron Jaws and Corn video you got, because
yes,
Seraphon's
exactly.
right now.
It's a disaster of an Iron Jaws and Corn video.
Unbelievable!
Real quick, we got a question from Chat Gang here saying, what's the likelihood of you filming a bat rep with fans?
I saw that. So we play at home. So like the difference between like mini wargaming, you know, they have fans come in. They have a dedicated play space. So I think sort of as maybe, you know, to respect maybe some like people that we live with,
You're right.
we have not considered doing that. But if it was
You can
at
go
all
over my
possible,
house.
you can. Okay, well, Jack is inviting you over to his house. But I'm saying if we did get our own dedicated play space,
That's more likely.
really feels like it would be possible.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying
more.
to start Patreon
Yeah, so
now.
Patreon. Yeah. Do you guys have...
really,
Yeah. No, do you guys have a Patreon
That's
actually?
also one that we've never asked for anything.
Yeah.
So that's because I'm not saying we're against it. Like Patreon's a great tool, but I know what it sounds like when I listen. People who plug Patreon all the time.
Yeah.
I know how I feel. Like, all right, I get it, man.
you want to plug it the right.
Yeah, you want to plug it the right amount, but like you have a Patreon that I don't think you plug enough.
I get that criticism a lot, believe it or not. like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to, like, my guests remind me I'm supposed to talk about my Patreon.
Yeah,
And
like
honestly,
right now, here's your,
yeah, like I'm like, I don't have to talk about it. Oh, by the way, I have a Patreon if you love what I do. Go ahead. It's Mr. Mephisto Patreon. Check it out. There are 3 tiers to it. They don't get you anything. It's just how much bragging rights do you want? Because I think paywalls are bullshit. So you're not paying me for extra content. You're just saying, hey, I love the show, and you want to throw money to show how much you love the show in some sort of like manner. And that money does go back into my show. It pays for trips. It'll pay for me upgrading my hobby cam down the line, so on and so forth. So thank you for that easy alley-oop there. Like, thanks, buddy. Like I think I actually like was I watched one of I have a lot of my old contacts from when I first started Twitch. So a lot of people who are now like big partners and much bigger streamers than I'll ever be, because I've really kind of focused on not trying to be a brand, if that makes sense. Like I'm just Mephisto on the internet. Like I'm just Mephisto on the internet. If you want to watch live, be part of Chat Gang, I am flattered infinitely. But I'm not. I don't think it's worth doing all that, just that extra crap. You know, I will sell out in an instant in certain respects. Like if I sell my book, and like, oh, Michael Bay wants to make your book into a movie. Yeah.
Thank you, Games Workshop.
Yeah, there you go. There are certain ways I will sell it in an instant, and I will be shameless about it. But when it gets right down to it, like the internet is this beautiful, magical place where you can just access knowledge, the likes of the Library of Alexandria. Why would I put a barrier between that? Like it's just, it's beautiful. Like, so I want that like open two-way street to kind of keep going. That's why we do it live rather than, but that's a me thing, and I don't begrudge anyone from starting like a Patreon or any of those things, obviously. But it's just like you said, it's like, how do you do it? Like how do you do it? And I was looking at this one sort of big Twitch streamer, and he's like, oh, if you wanna, he said it was like kind of like the ninja thing, where ninja had like a point he was trying to get to, but he said it without nuance, and it's just like encouraged indirect toxicity. This person was like, oh, if you want to make money off of your stream, find a different way to make money than off your viewers. And I'm like, kind of a good point, you don't want your viewers to subsidize your thing. But on the other hand, what a privileged point you have said, like, douchebag. Like, like, oh yeah, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and fucking start wearing Nike jerseys and shit on stream. Go fuck yourself. Like,
If you wear it, they will come.
right. Like, but no, you don't want to exploit your fans. Ever. You know, like, that's the big, or, you know, hesitate to say fans, but the people who watch your stuff. You don't want to exploit them. You don't ever want to be in that position where you're like, and if you act now, you get the Mr. Mephisto shirt with, like, special, you know, with special radio message tailored just to you. Like, you don't want that.
If you want to play games with Rerolling Ones, rent us an apartment so we can.
We've thought a lot about that, but yeah, I think it's been something that we've been kind of uncomfortable with, but very soon we'll be
we're gonna have t-shirts and hats and stuff like that, because like
we got a lot of requests for it. I think that was most
about the thing, like, how can I support you? I want to support what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like, because like, you know, Miss Fisto, like the level where you're at, YouTube is you're not really buying a lot with YouTube money.
No,
Warhammer's pretty.
It's niche
in comparison to the larger YouTube.
I mean, you guys have, you know, 14,000 subs, and that seems like just a shit ton. But when you look, the algorithm on YouTube is so much more inflated. I mean, you're talking tens of thousands and millions of subscribers for these other things that actually, like, make money, quote unquote. You guys aren't doing this full time. In other words, you all work jobs and stuff like that, and that's where, like, something like the Patreon is nice. It's like, well, why do I only get one bat rep on this, you know, schedule? It's like, well, you know, we got to work our jobs first, and then we got to go, you know, like,
we got 6 kids between us. So.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I don't fault any content creator from, you know, doing those things that help subsidize the thing. It's just that you got to be aware, and I think you guys are. I think everyone in my chat here, Coach, except for Coach, he's all about the green. He'll tell you it's all about the dollars, yo. No, it's you just got to keep that line between, you know, when is it fans sort of doing it of their own volition, and when does it become exploitation? And that's just, as long as you're always conscious of that line. I don't think anyone here would fault Rerolling Ones for starting a Patreon. You know.
It's like I said, we get like nervous.
Sign up on Patreon.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is, like, is if people, and that's where I knew it was time for me to start a Patreon, was I had enough people telling me to do it. I'm like, fine. And by enough people, I mean like Soren and G-Dead here in chat just telling me, like, every day.
Don't exaggerate. Yeah, tons of people.
Yeah, two people telling me constantly, though. So I started one.
Both of them.
Both of them all the time. No, and, like, merch is one of those things, like, I want to do because it's fucking funny to me. Like, does that, like it'd be a joke, but it would be one of those, like, I wouldn't keep inventory, I wouldn't buy in. I just think it would be really funny to have, like, my own shirt and, like, go to, like, if you've seen Halo, he bought one shirt, it says, "Hi, I'm Halo" on YouTube. I'm like, I just want to do that. I just think that's fucking hilarious.
Oh man, I'm such a huge fan of his. I want him to do.
You want him to do what?
He's super funny. Like, I loved his Stormcast parody thing.
Yeah.
He's been MIA for a little bit. What's up with him? Your boy, right?
Yeah, he's my dude. Yeah, we're friends IRL going back to college, so 16 years now, whatever, man. Yeah, he's you know, he got sick there for a little bit, and then the way he makes his money is essentially like editing and stuff, like freelancing, and that's just a very hurry up and do it type. It's very constraining, so he's been kind of like battling through some stuff, but he was just sharing some notes with the next, what is it, Choosing Your Army video, and I was like in tears, like, so I think it's gonna be good. But
it's very interesting when you see like people who think about the game differently.
Yeah.
Like, I was at Nova and I was talking, and he was telling me, the math just doesn't add up. I'm like, I don't even think about this game like that. Like, math? What are you talking about?
I was like, but look, it has wings.
That's like with Dread Saurian.
I got super like, I did a lot of competitive stuff last year, and I'm getting, I'm still, but I won a lot of games because people said shooting was dead. And I was like, oh, contraire. Let me show you something.
Yeah.
But now the era of the shootcast is
shootcast got behind. So now my Cities of Shootmar is coming. Right now I'm building up these Iron Drakes. No, yeah, Iron Drakes.
Iron Drakes? Yeah, Iron Drakes are legit. I remember they were kind of like low-key heat. Was it Ian? Then freaking Ian O'Brien had to like ruin it for everyone from just saying. I think it was a few months ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Iron Drakes are great." I'm like, "Stop telling them they're great because Nagash doesn't like them." Like I'm just like, "Stop it!" Like, don't let people know. But yeah, so you guys, I mean, you said something in here, you know, a couple points about sort of starting it. One of the big things is you just did it early on, like you just recorded it, and then you kind of hammered it out and refined it as you got going. And I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, we had to keep going though. Like there was moments where it was a little like, I mean, like you're doing anything, like burnout happens, but we think that like we were able to keep growing because there was, even if it wasn't, you know, like a completely determined like video comes out every single Thursday or we quit. Like no, there was at least enough consistency that like roughly every week one of these came out, and so then we got to see like people's interest slowly kind of build out.
And like we also got there in a great time. Like not the ground floor because we were there beginning.
We survived the open play like.
Yeah, the Dark Ages.
GHB days.
Yeah, the Dark Ages.
Got in there.
Yeah, we were ready.
With the GHB, and so the game got popular as we already had a channel as the game was getting more and more.
Yeah.
So now it's like the market is flooded, but we had already established a name.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the bat rep channels.
Yeah, it seems like every 3 months there's a bunch of assholes making new podcasts, like this like Dick back in November. Made RantCast. Fuck that guy. No, it's great. Like I think like people hit a boiling point with like they just love this thing and they're like, I need to talk more about how much I love this thing, or I need to play it more, and then you throw a camera on it. And obviously if you keep doing it, you stick with it, you kind of challenge yourself. How much do you think like the fan feedback is that fuel for you guys?
Yeah. Like especially, so we did a video in, I think it was like November. It was basically just like, we're going to give away this Sequitur model that Shu painted, but to like give this away, just like sound off in the comments about like kind of what do you want to see? Because we thought, you know, that we had maybe a good perspective of like the people that like we know like what kind of gamers like we are, but then the people that watch us, like we think we have a good idea here that you're right. Like people are not coming, okay, like people that do come to our channel and are just, you know, leave like a very long comment about like, here are all the tactical blunders that you made. It's just like, okay, well, like we're probably not going to be very entertaining like for you, but like I think people that are more into casual gaming, like,
and like we're definitely a personality.
Sure. Right. And then to see that in the comments is like, well, like what are people actually like interested in? And there was, you know, a decent number of people that were like, we would like to have more competitive videos, but like definitely the top request was people being like, we want you to do narrative campaigns. Like we want you to do like a series of games, linked games, and
they like it when we play each other, like us interacting with each other, a group of friends playing Age of Sigmar, playing, you know, being the keyword where we're having fun, we're enjoying each other's companies, we're joking around, and we're putting out that positive energy that I think you can tell when the camera's on. We try not to, because I know when I watched a lot of bat reps, I hated when people were winning when they were losing.
So on camera.
On camera. I said that off. and so I try to celebrate your opponent's victories.
Yes.
And so you just try to be like, hey, even though I'm losing, even though Archeon said, hey, no, dude.
Not today. Yeah, not today.
I think some of the nicest feedback that we got to was, and this I think maybe this like changed the way that we thought about what we were doing, is I think basically along the lines of like, whatever you guys like are gonna play, like I would enjoy watching that. So then it's like that took some of the pressure off of us of like, you know, how
having to chase the heat,
good of a game that we're playing, and it's like, okay, well I think if we're just having fun with this game, then it sounds like the people that watch us, like that's all they'd like to see.
Right. You mentioned personality driven, and I just want to like 10 out of 10 can attest. I brought you guys on the show before I had a topic to just show because I'm like I just want these guys on the show. I don't know what we're going to talk about. And it's like GW provided, Seraphon came out. I've got a bunch of like people from like Lustry Online that came over because of the Davis Ford AOS Reminders episode of RantCast, and they just kind of like stuck around. We keep talking Seraphon, and my son is a massive dinosaur fan, so this is like I'm like this is his army. This is his army. He is 7 years old. He'll be 8 November.
I'm also a massive dinosaur fan.
I have an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old. So
I've got a 7 and a 3-year-old, Colin and Lily, and both I am grooming to be nerds. So
awesome. Does he like AOS though?
They both have shown interest. Even the 3-year-old, like this story's been on RantCast a few times, but like when I got back from NashCon, sort of like the last outing of Nagash last season, wherever it was after the GHB came out, my heart was kind of broken. I wasn't excited to play him anymore. It's okay, my heart got mended, Bone Reapers happened, but I got back and like she had snapped Nagash like off his like in half and off his base because she was like she had him set up on the table and like had models, and she doesn't understand, she's 3, and she like snapped Nagash, and I'm like, oh, the metaphor for how I feel right now. I didn't even get mad because I'm like she's just trying to be like Dad. She sees Dad play with the models, and so she tries to do it. So like she's showing the interest. And Colin, he'll actually do, my son, then he'll do these like games with his Legos. So he's been pushing them around. And I didn't want to commit to Seraphon because there were equal rumors that they were going to be squatted as they were getting a new tome for a little while there, Like
teach your kids early, like, well, your collection doesn't do anything anymore.
Right, yeah. Oh, like the rotation. Yeah, your collection doesn't exist. This is what it's like to be squatted, son. Life's not fair. Like, no. Yeah. So like I was waiting for the Seraphon. I was waiting till we're like, okay, yeah, Seraphon, and then like the minute they're like, yeah, you're playing all like big dino army, I'm like, awesome. Do you know how good that is for like a 7-year-old to just have huge monster trucks to push around? Like we're all in. So now I'm like planning a father-son outing at Holy Havoc.
Awesome.
Should be in November, so it'll be Mr. Meth and Mini Meth. It'll be a before and after shot of dinosaurs becoming Petrifex Elite because they're made out of dinosaur bones. Like, so we'll have the before after shot of dinosaurs become skeletons after the harvest. So we'll do a little narrative before after thing. So like he'll push around a few dinosaurs. We're gonna spend the summer grinding some games, teaching him how to play. He's already got a basic concept of like attack, save, stuff like that because we do it with his Legos, and it's like you're just waiting for that little extra understanding and like coordination because like even elementary students or elementary like age kids are like they're just walking calamities. Like they're just still figuring out their bodies and stuff. So like
me too.
You too.
Yeah, I just knock into stuff all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. My kids don't give a fuck about AOS.
Yeah.
They do not. They like that I have a YouTube channel, but I've tried several times. Like, they got that. They're ready to play some video games. I'm like, oh, this is cool, Dad. Go play with your toys.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we've gotten a lot of positive feedback was like we've got feedback from this teacher who would show our bat reps to his club because they had a club at their school.
That's awesome.
And he was thankful that we keep it PG.
Yeah.
No, not like a
PG-13 at the most.
At the most,
yeah.
We try. Anybody can watch this, and it's pretty easy not to swear on camera. That's why I'm getting all that on your show.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm holding it back, but yeah, it's just like going back to the community and just how.
Yeah. I did see in the comments bring back Path to Glory. Jax wanted to do Path to Glory again for a long time, and Shu's been like, so 1 point for Path to Glory though in the great debate
because that was our first art. We're all better. Well, some of us are better. Some of us run.
Some of us painted some models.
Some of us run thankful.
Yeah.
Seraphon army by himself.
Hey man, Thankful's a nightmare for bone daddies. The right.
Oh, word.
Yeah. He just like craps mortal wounds. It's a problem. 6-up won't save you.
Probably in the shooting phase, not in the combat.
Yeah, just like
Bone Reapers hate this.
Yeah, Bone Reapers don't like this. This is not okay. I don't know if you know this, dear viewer, if this is your first RantCast, but I'm a really big fan of the Death Armies, and I've taken to relishing in the sort of like evil of Petrifex Elite right now.
When you get a beating Petrifex Elite,
What's that?
Salamanders. Salamanders.
Yeah. So real quick before we move on to maybe talking Seraphon, there's a couple of these little, you've brought up actually comedy a couple times here, Jack, that you did comedy. You might tell me a little bit about that, and you've already kind of skirted on how that overlaps with your battle reports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe. This is just interesting to me, honestly. Like, this is considered a rabbit hole for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. I can tell how I started gotten into that. Like Mike Davis, he was on your show last year. I get really like into stuff, like super obsessed. Like I have way too much Age of Sigmar stuff because I'm currently obsessed with it. I just get addicted to these things, go all in. And but so when I was a kid, I really liked wrestling. WWF, big fan. And so and from wrestling, I became a huge fan of MMA. And so I would, and there was this MMA call-in show. It was a internet radio show called MMA Junkie Radio. And I would call in. I was like one of the number one call. I'm in their Hall of Fame. It's a really cool thing. They still have events and stuff, but that's not what I'm addicted to right now. So anyway, Joe Rogan is commentator for UFC, and it was right when he started his podcast. He would talk about stand-up, and he made it sound so intriguing that I'm like, all right, I want to try it at least once. And so I went to an open mic, and I was like, wow, these people are awful. I mean, that's the other thing. I was like, I'm funnier than that. And so I kind of just would text myself funny ideas. And I went on stage for the first time, and I was so paranoid about, because they give you 3 minutes. And I was like, man, that's a long time. And I wrote my jokes, and I practiced it, but I didn't give time for people to laugh at my jokes because I was trying to get it all out like a soliloquy. But I'm talking, and people are laughing. You gotta shut up. We gotta get the rest of this out. And so I did great. My first I was at the point. I remember it's a embarrassing. 2 weeks into comedy, I was like, I'll quit my job in 2 years into comedy because everything was going great.
Yeah.
And then I bombed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. And this is like a skill. And then, I got to the point where I was hosting a lot at the comedy clubs in Seattle. And I was a decent name. I was getting to the point.
Seattle's actually a good comedy spot, by the way. Like, there's a whole, like, comedy is, I mean, I'm one of those nerds who thinks it's an art form, like actual stand-up. I think it's one of the last sort of dead places in art where you can go and you're already 1 degree, like you've already removed 1 degree of people's skepticism to like give them a message. You're like, they're there to laugh, and so like since they're there to laugh, they're already disarmed just a little bit. So like if you want to like, Bill Burr is like pretty good at this, where like he says some really offensive shit, but like if you really peel it back, you realize he's kind of giving you like a little bit of this like moral message and shit like that. So
it's a whole like, it's a skill. It's an art form. You can be like, well, I can't lead with this joke, but if I get them to go on the ride with me, get them on my side early, then I can talk about my ex-wife. But if I lead with my ex-wife,
because you're the bad guy then.
Asshole.
Yeah.
But if I'm
you're the bad guy.
Jokes, and I mix in my kid stuff, and then I could talk about that bitch. No. Then I could. So that you can go around. It's a whole.
Yeah.
It's repetition. It's just like you were talking about doing katas last week. It's like you practice this, so when you're out in a fight, you just go back to your routine. So you go to these open mics, you practice your jokes, it's one of the things where you need an audience to.
Yeah.
But and so I was able to perform at 3 of the Comic-Cons up here because I have a lot of nerdy jokes too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Anyway,
know your audience, right? The first rule of writing. Comedy.
And then I got to the point where because I get my kids every single weekend. That's the thing I have, and I was getting booked every week, and so I see my kids on Sunday because I'd have to drop them off with grandma, and I'm out late night, little hungover on Sunday.
Yeah.
And my youngest son, I was talking to him, and he thought that I thought comedy was more important than him.
Oof.
And from what my actions were, that's what I was showing him. Then I was like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm doing? So I reassessed my life and I cut comedy out.
Yeah.
So I'm a better father, and I play Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, you're touching on some harsh realities there, but like kids are a lot about perceiving. Like I get this thing I'm like hung up on now is like I yell at our dogs, and I'm like, fucking kids just think that's the way you address dogs, because like you come home from work, like you come home from work, you like like you're just trying to like get through the day, finish it off, get like I cook all the dinners in the house, with the exception on Thursdays because RantCast it's like and then like you just like shut up, damn it, and I'm like, oh, my fucking kids are just gonna think, and then like I feel like the worst human in the world, and then like I have to explain to them, I'm like, okay, was daddy nice to yell at the dogs? No. Why shouldn't you yell at dogs? And like you go through that, but then like you have this awareness that like telling your kids something is worth like 40%, but showing them is like 60% of that. And like you can tell them you love them as much in the world, but if they see daddy's never here, they think daddy's never here. It's hard, man. Like parenting is one of the, I mean, it's the toughest army in the game. It is pure filth. It is pure whack. Parenting pulls no punches. S tier, 5-0 every time.
Broken.
It's broken.
And so Brent, I guess kind of just going off of that a little bit. You write then, like you're the writer, man. You're the writer.
Yeah, like for sure on a hobby level. Like I'm not a professional writer. It's not like my day job.
Comics, though.
Well, but I did as a hobby. Yeah.
You made money for it. You're a pro. Sorry.
I was like, I don't know that I did make money. Unclear. I haven't looked at the.
The royalties.
I got you. The Big Brother's listening. You know what Uncle Sam didn't know. That's under the table.
What did you? No, I don't. Yeah. So like, that's been. So okay. So I was going to mention kind of like what we're kind of looking to do pretty quick here in the future.
Yeah.
Is that like with bat reps, like we want to try a new format. Like we'll still do just like regular bat reps too, but we also want to do what we're referring to as seasons. They're essentially narrative campaigns where for a series of games that we're putting together, like we're going to be playing the same armies in a setting that has like a narrative. So I've gotten to be able to start like, okay, well, if I haven't been writing anything personal for now like I've been starting to write stuff for seasons, and hopefully people are hopefully that serves the games well, because like I think so it's going back to how people was like saying, oh, we want narrative campaigns, we want narrative bat reps. I actually think that's like the hardest thing to do, is like to convince somebody that your story is cool, but also like not have so much story that it just a game of Age of Sigmar too. Like we want these videos to be that you could just pick them up like any other video that we have, but like if you are following along, then you kind of know like, oh, this is why it's set in specifically like why we're playing in Akshi, and why we chose to use the spells from Akshi, or like this a Realmscape feature, something particular.
You can learn
blending writing into that has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean you can learn a lot from yourself actually with your skits and stuff. I mean, thinking about like the energy of the scene and stuff like that. Like you can humans, we're actually like really good at like pattern recognition and picking up stuff. If like every battle is set in Akshi, eventually if you watch 3 bat reps and you're like, why are they all in Akshi? Like the brain will just start to like pick up stuff like that. I was actually just looking at something about Critical Role today. Speaking of fansploitation. Sorry. I'm sorry. Oops. I just lost a bunch of D&D.
Please do.
I just lost a bunch of D&D cred. Damn it. No one will ever watch my D&D streams again. No, like Critical Role, like there's a guy like saying, and again, this is one of more of those like, I want more nuance, but I get your point moments, where like, oh, justifying essentially why every Critical Role episode is behind a paywall. Is because you can pick up watching the story anywhere in between, and you'll just retroactively pick up the characters and stuff like that, and you'll kind of start to know that. And our community is big enough where they can fill in the gaps. And I'm like, you're half right. You're half right. Like, if you pick up and if you write your narrative in such a manner to where like you've got your characters, your setting, whatever you're playing with, man, people will begin to pick up on that story. Oh, hey, there's a story here. And then they'll talk to the fans in the comment section. The fans will be like, oh, dude, yeah, this narrative thing happened in the last episode. But where, like, I think Critical Role sucks dick is they put it all behind a paywall to go back and watch that episode. And then, I will give you money if I love your thing. I will. Like, trust me, man. I want, Games Workshop, I love your shit. Here's, do I need a second Mason? No, I don't. But I want one because have my money, GW. I think
we're gonna be starting Patreon, but yeah, we won't be doing that. So also for narrative too. So it's sort of like we're just setting kind of a primer through the campaign, and then narrative with Warhammer is I really like it, but it's as far as playing a game, it's limited to your story is and then they fought. But if you at least have I think the stuff people get excited about is where did they fight and why are they fighting and how is that somehow reflected in the rules? So a little explanation of what we're starting to do is that we're going to be fighting over an Akshian storm vault called the Ember Vault. The area surrounding the Ember Vault is a very caustic, horrible volcanic type of region. So knowing that we're fighting over, specifically we're outside the Ember Vault right now, and then we choose a Realmscape feature every step a league, where in the description for that, it's just if you roll a 6 to run and you choose to move, you take D3 mortal wounds, or you charge 10 inches or more, you take D3 mortal wounds. If you're just kind of playing that without thinking about what it actually is, I don't know if it's as satisfying. But in this case, when we made all of our little scenarios, so it's our pairing of a battle plan with the Realmscape feature. Specifically, it's you are not being careful, and this region is filled with jagged escarpments, and one wrong step could also put you into a pool of acid. So if that happens in the game, we at least have that little bit of narrative oh, yep, that's what happens in this area. Mm-hmm. Your stupid guy fell into a pool of boiling acid.
Brent has worked really hard on the campaign.
Well, you're doing something. You're establishing the why, right? That's a really important. We know what's going on. My dragons are fighting your dinosaurs. That. Right. What's pretty obvious, right? We're fighting, but establishing that why, filling in that stuff to make it a little bit more enriching. And like you guys said, and I agree. You're very much a personality show, and so those personalities, or what would be called character driven, right? In terms of if I was to write a story. Why is The Big Lebowski one of the best movies ever? The plot is it's a kidnapping film, but kidnapping films can be boring and formulaic, so they just take these just oddball characters and they put them in that plot, and that's why it's great.
So thank you. Thank you, Coen Brothers.
Yeah, thank you, Coen Brothers. D&D is very similar. Go save the MacGuffin or go get the MacGuffin. Okay, cool, but it's not just go get the MacGuffin. It's Dracula. Conan the Barbarian and Gandalf the Wizard team up to go get the thing. Now I care. That's so you got the personality part. Infusing a little bit more personality, which I mean you're doing all the time, Jack, with your Seahawk models.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
he's been playing Khorne, and this is anybody that was there from the beginning and watched the Path of Glory campaign knows that his slaughter priest sucks. And
Cornell is coming back.
Yeah, he gets a chance at redemption.
Yeah. Oh no.
I don't know if you've seen those. I'm just saying he would always roll for Blood Boil and just kill himself.
I want to throw down a gauntlet before I forget.
Ooh, what?
There's a football. Hopefully, there was a football season later this.
I think so. I think
XFL?
So.
No.
And I believe the Green Bay Packers will be playing the Seattle Seahawks at some point.
All right.
I'd like to place a bet with Mr. Method Man.
That's right. The Method Man. That's right.
Method Man. I want to say, it's $25. That's the range. $25 model. If you win, which you won't, but if you win, I will paint a model of your choosing in bright colors and send to you.
Okay.
Green and yellow.
Gold. Green and gold. Come on, get it right, dude.
Green and yellow. And you send one to me, majestic. I'll just to let you know, Tantor blue, highlighted with a tech.
All right.
And the other one is you can use contrast if you want.
Okay.
Highlights. Yeah, just practice if you want.
All right, I'll pick up that.
I just see in all caps Cordell.
Cordell's
Cordell sucks. Yeah, he's coming back.
No, I'll pick up that gauntlet, dude. You got yourself a bet.
Here we go.
Real quick, is it in the is it on your guys' home turf? Didn't we just go in there and no? You guys came to ours and we punched you in the mouth. So you're maybe due for a win.
Oh
Maybe.
Oh man, I can't believe you hate Russell.
I don't like him.
He's so likable.
It's the sports bubbles, man. I can't handle it. Like my brain short circuits when he's like, water will cure cancer. And I'm just like, fucking stop. The reason I've never been injured is because sports bubbles. No, the reason you've never been injured is you're running for your damn life all the time.
You don't know.
and maybe Big JC is on your side because, dude, that
Russell Wilson said it. It must be true.
I love it. See, this is one of the things that I secretly love so much about Age of Sigmar is like the banter and like that like WWE sort of like you can have a persona, you shit talk, you know, like.
Dude, that's one of the like we have all these intro ideas. One was Brent is a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And wrestling pro those like one of them was Macho Beastman was one of the characters.
I don't remember this idea, but I like it.
Yeah.
Macho Beastman was one of the characters that
Macho Beastman. I've got a pretty good Macho Man impression. If you guys start like doing a casting call for some of your skits.
For sure. Like there's so many like and a lot of it comes down to like we get in scramble mode, like, dude, we need a bat rep. And then we'll record a bat rep.
We need an intro.
We need a sketch. Like, all right, we need something that's not too
off.
complicated.
We're just on the fly all the time.
Like this one, the cake one we mentioned earlier. Brent came up with that. And that was like 99%.
Well, it's because we were working on terrain for the camp. So we're trying to actually plan the campaign. We're trying to plan the season. So we're like making scenery. And then we're like, it looks like cake.
Yeah.
Let's film that.
And like the punchline, like one of the funny bits, like, because, you try to do the rule of three and stuff like that.
Yep, rule of three. So you got to have your punchline on the third bit. Yep.
And like, my favorite line of that was like, you can make terrain out of cake? Are you... Yeah. Some bird just go up. I was like, "There, that's the joke."
Now we gotta call back to that. In a future video, we just need to put a cake on the board.
Yeah. Oh, like confuse a cake and like just like the cake as the centerpiece or something, or like
I've always had that idea of just doing like, what if we just did the worst bat rep ever? Like all the terrain needs to be like food or garbage. You need to make list that you possibly can.
Do a lot of like redundancy, so your unit like use all out assault on something that can already reroll one.
do a physical camera gag where at one point you switch which army you're playing. Don't call attention to it. Don't call attention to it. Just like suddenly, because you guys cut and you edit your stuff. So like, just at one point, be like, just switch sides of the table and start playing each other's armies. Like, be sure to get the camera shots in there, a little bit of show, don't tell, like, and so that the audience has that moment where they're like, and then like, just like, so now you gotta like call attention to it, like with like, having like a Shu or somebody in the audience, Josh to be the audience stand-in, like do a double take when you like, as they about the time the audience would become aware in the comedic timing that you switched places, like they need to like kind of like, do it. April Fools. Let's go.
I was like,
it'd be great to see if like you're playing against Shu and like he does something and then you switch armies and try to dig out the hole that Shu got you in.
Like Shu gets to turn with his army and it's like, here you go.
I would love to see if his bad dice follow him to the other army and like you're winning, or whatever, and then like you flip sides and then like he just like loses because the dice turn the tide.
How did both armies lose?
It's always somebody who just has bad
years ago.
dice.
It used to be me. But,
oh really?
Yeah. Then she was just like, look at me. I'm bad at dice now.
I'm bad at dice. I'm yeah. Oh man, that's a deep cut. All right, y'all want to talk some Seraphon?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so I did watch the Seraphon video, and I need to say we're coming off the backs talking all these bat reps. I secretly hate you guys because I like to put stuff on in the background while I do other things. I can't have you guys as background noise because you're too fucking entertaining. So that annoys me.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
The
but
Seraphon we borrowed were very pretty too.
they were very.
Man, Leo, the guy who loaned the Seraphon, he's in Europe right now,
Mhm.
and so he's like scrambling to get back before Friday.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah. So we might have a lot of Seraphon back soon.
all Seraphon all the time.
The campaign is just Seraphon.
It's just Seraphon. Yeah, it's all the struggles of Seraphon. So solve. Are you guys ready to go on record real quick and solve once and for all? Is it Coalesced or Starborn?
Starborn.
Coalesced.
I love it.
There we go. So now we've got
Starborn.
That's right.
He keeps posting,
The weekend. I saw that today. I saw it when you had the typo in the URL too, and I started to respond.
Yeah,
and
thank
then
you for pointing that out. I had to delete it and redo it.
it...
You said keep posting it. I did it twice.
What happened?
Thank you for pointing that out because I was like, oh, my joke is not gonna.
This is great. Now we got a debate.
Before we get into Seraphon, do you know?
I'm sorry. You cut out there. You're gonna have to repeat. What was that?
Do you know what our first interaction was?
Ours.
Yes.
I'm struggling. What was it?
I asked you a question online, and you got super snarky with me because you can't tell what people's tone with text.
Yeah. No.
It was when the Selesky
Yeah.
was a War Scroll Battalion came out.
Yeah.
White Dwarf.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I asked you something. And it was like, oh, and it's nice that you I'm putting a tone to your text, but you said the word quaint, and I used that for a week straight. Anytime somebody would say something, I'm, quaint.
Quaint is one of my like dismissive of a potential argument comments.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like how quaint, because I'm not gonna engage.
It was great. I was using it all week. I'm like, oh.
Man, I'm trying to think what it could have been because I don't know if you know this, but I say a lot of shit all the time.
You apologized when I was like, no. It was that was
yeah.
Actually, I was just I was curious. I thought that you couldn't use White Dwarf stuff in competitive games.
Oh, is that what it was?
Oh, but it's so funny that you think all games are.
Oh yeah. It's quaint. It's quaint that you think all games are competitive or match play. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
This is why you guys made.
This is why we made what?
Yeah.
The bet about football.
This is what it is. This is how why
apparently there's a rivalry.
This is the narrative here. Yeah, now there's a rivalry. We didn't need an extra rivalry because the Fail Mary, Packers don't need a reason to hate Seattle fans.
I secretly wormed my way into your friendship.
That's what it is. Try to subvert me and take over my show. The 14,000 subscribers need my little 20 live chatters platform.
Yeah, very vindictive.
That's what it is.
Question, so then, are you Starborn or Coalesced?
I'm kind of a sucker for Coalesced, and I wanted to.
You're wrong, but
I wanted to keep the mystery alive until the end of the show and keep it divided here, because that would be the proper narrative thing to do if I were writing this as a story.
That's okay.
But
now we can pick up on him.
But now it's Coalesced because I wouldn't side with the Seahawks fan. And two, Coalesced can pay their taxes. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They have bones, so they can actually pay the tithe, and that's really what matters. I mean, you don't want to be a dirty tax evader like the Starborn.
I'm just picturing a Bone Reaper cutting down a Starborn Saurus and disappears.
Yeah, just
and then they're just with their stuck faces, just
they're just or their skull turns upside down so that they're sad or something like that. You can't tell. Wile E. Coyote, they hold up a sign. They're just the frown emoji.
So disappointed.
I'm imagining the Reapers IRS from the WWF back in the day.
Yeah, I call them the I call them the Eternal Revenant services instead of the internal revenue. It's the Eternal Revenant services, and they'll send an agent from Ossia to come help you with your taxes. Of course, the implications being that they're going to come and murder you. So I've got my Mimi headcanon and then I've got my like serious story, and like the one that makes me
choose which
happier. Yeah, like the one that makes me happier is always the joke one. So
What kind of game are we playing?
yeah, yeah. Because what's the
Tax
narrative here?
collectors.
Tax collectors, right? Like that's easy to be the bad guy if you're the tax collector. That's why it worked with the WWE. Everyone hates paying taxes.
Yeah.
That's the real reason people hate Bone Reapers. It has nothing to do with +1 to save plus an additional rent. It's because they collect taxes. It just people
It's
are not
probably
about.
like where they started, like conceptually with that army. They're sitting around like, how do we make these guys really evil?
like
How do we make these guys terrible?
yeah, like Nagash is already pretty evil, but we need to make him AOS evil. Like we need to turn it up to 11 because that's the theme, right?
Right.
What if he's this nickel and dimey, evil, long-thinking death god, but he also collects taxes? And you're just like, that's it. You know, and that probably started as a joke in the boardroom, right? Like in their little creatives room, where they're just sitting there like, they're just riffing on each other and like, okay, yeah, like, oh, the tithe. Yeah, the tithe of bone. That sounds really cool, but what is that? And they're like, oh yeah, Nagash, like, he totally collects taxes. Like, he thinks Sigmar is the soul thief. Because he's stealing souls, and souls are like currency. Mm-hmm. And like, damn it, you gotta pay your taxes too now. Like, it's perfect. Alright. So yeah, Seraphon, I guess real quick then, do you guys want to do your like mile-long sort of view of the Seraphon book? Which you, yeah.
Of course.
Sure.
Right.
All right. So, my long overview. I'm really excited that like there's no other battle tome that's like this where they okay, so first like Games Workshop addressed the thing that like not everybody was super into, you know, Seraphon as these like cosmic star beings. And kind of something that they've done, I want to say like Malign Portents was the first, is like as Age of Sigmar, you know, into second edition has evolved, like I feel like they've looked at a few things from Warhammer Fantasy and gone like, you know, that was cool too. Like we can still do that. That doesn't also have to be a thing of the past. Mm-hmm. So coming up with something like Coalesce, which now it's like, you got a jungle again, you got pyramids, you got lizard, you know, brutal primal lizard guys coming out of spawning pools, but not just to, you know, write that into the lore. Like they made two armies that there was, you know, like Starborn, Seraphon, the way that they've like played since they've had, you know, since like the first General's Handbook, but then also just made a whole new type of army. Like different units get different mileage out of playing them in Coalesced or Starborn. And I don't know, to have that like it's reflected in the lore, and then the lore matches like how they play. I think that's super cool. I was super excited to see that. Not just that like I didn't like, you know, Star Lizard Men. Like I thought that was cool too, but at least like to give people that option. But then also like if you have a you know a big Seraphon collection, playing these you could play both, you know, with relatively the same collection. Like yeah, there's some stuff that's gonna be better.
It's more optimized in one than the other.
To just to have just way more. You know, it's a lot more, I think, than just having sort of sub factions that like you've basically got two armies in.
Yes, right, exactly. And like you may like for people who've only known Seraphon through Age of Sigmar, because not everybody played fantasy, you still can get the same vibe. Like, you know, I fell in love with them as the Star Children, and so the people who I can teleport, do all this movement malarkey. And that's how I like to play. That's still there for you. But for people like my brother, who I want them to be
Saurus Smash.
Yeah. Blooded stuff that I remember from fantasy.
Yeah.
I want that. And they've done a great job. And like when you look at the War Scroll battalion, it's like they do different things. Like they both have Sunclaw, like Star Horse and Temple Host, I think they're called. But they're not the same thing. They don't you both get the same exact thing. No, this one does this for this arm. This one does that for that arm. And I think they're
very different,
Yeah, it's definitely, I believe it's fun because you have multiple ways to play the same army. You get more uses out of this book than say if I'm playing my Stormcast, I guess I can pick a different Storm host. So you know, with animals and I can units and they do something. So it's kind of similar to that, but this is to the next level with that.
Right, yeah. I mean, with Stormhosts and LON and their, like, sort of legions as they were introduced, I really feel like those were, like, beta tests of, like, enclaves and, you know, what we've got now is these sub-factions. And it feels like the Seraphon tome has gone yet one step further. With sort of something that we saw, I think, a little bit in War Clans, where it's like, there's 3 armies in that book, too. But, like, they become very distinct, sort of separated armies, where Seraphon, if you're somebody who's got 4,000 points of Seraphon, because you've been collecting them since Fantasy Battle, you've got a real... Yeah, I mean, you're just going to be sandboxing for, like, the next year. Yeah. Just by swapping in your models, okay, all right, this is really awesome this way, well, now I want to go Starborn for a little while, and just being able to, like, really kind of change it and find these, like, interesting combos. As someone who's, like, very, like, list buildy, like, I really love, like, theorycraft and list building. This is a book that excites me in a way that, like, Cities of Sigmar did early, but then I got, like, less interested in the further I saw the, like, limitations of the book with the, you know, this one I'm just like, I'm still like, Slaves to Darkness still gives me this excitement too, where I'm like, possibilities for days, right? I see that with the Seraphon book, where I'm like, there's a lot of possibilities. Now, obviously, even your cold open hits it with Shu there, like ordering all the salamanders.
We made that after we played the game for sure. Like when I was taking the models out of the box that we borrowed, and I'm making the list, I was just like, oh, 3 salamanders, that'd be cool. And I looked at the War Scroll, but I don't know. There's some things that just like don't
until it's on the table.
A lot of information is coming in. It didn't click with me yet that like this is gonna be something. But also when something like that happens, like it, you know, I think most people who watch it, you know, still thought that it was like a good game. But something like that, at least to see like our reaction to it, or if this is somebody's exposure to it,
still in real,
you know, like,
real
there
time.
could be. That can be entertaining, or there's like value in that too.
Yeah,
and then we had to make fun of it. So.
I was actually a little like nervous about the stance. I'm glad it turned out well. It's funny.
It's great. It's great.
Try not to be a
doom and
voice
gloom.
of authority
about
and like put stamps on saying these are overpowered. This is. We never want to say that because you just put yourself out there. I guess you can be wrong,
right?
And or you can be like. It's like that's not. We're there to have fun.
We don't want to be negative either. How dare you? And that's why I think like we chose like Shu to do it because you're talking about you feel like the cold opens. You know more. You know, like people are playing like an exaggerated version of themselves, and like Shu trying to like metagame is very funny to me.
Yeah.
So him just like I'm buying so many salamanders is like it's nothing that he would do, which I feel like is also
well. That's where the comedy comes from, right? Like that's where because you have the contrast in the sort of like what's going on and like as you go on to like watch that game play out.
But they are sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, did we do that? I don't know. No.
Yeah, well, I mean that's I mean this is a rabbit hole number 2 I think for the night, but I mean that's a hazard that I had like a rude awakening after like RantCast like 4 somewhere really early on there, where I didn't like I just think of myself like for a while I was just like I'm kind of a nobody watches my show, like whatever I say whatever, but like you don't realize like you throw it out onto the internet, especially with a show. I mean just Twitter for the average person does this, and like let alone you add a platform to it like a show where people come and like read comments and they interact with you, and like now it's just you're adding a multiplier to that voice. If you say, you know, something like salamanders are busted, right? It's not even what it's not even what you say on the show necessarily. It's like that comment multiplier, or like Rerolling Ones say these are busted, and then like it's like the telephone game starts going. Rerolling Ones says these things are broken and like disgusting, and then it just like it multiplies out from there, and so it's like you got to kind of be cognizant of what you say once you start like throwing yourself out on the internet. And you guys have been at this a long time. I think you really do handle yourself well. But like,
well, I hope in this case this was somebody like Rerolling Ones said salamanders are broken. And the other person's like, Rerolling Ones doesn't know anything. Yeah, why are you listening to them?
Right.
Like, it's very because I've seen like because we're good friends with 2+ Tough, and he said something like he'll go out there, he'll say stuff, and I'm like, you sure you want to say that? But he's going, and
He's a bold one.
Yeah, and he'll like. There was just like, I've seen him go into the weeds. I'm like,
Yeah.
Putting out opinion as fact. I'm not saying he does this, but you see a lot of people put opinion out there. I'm like, it's like, it's our opinion. It's like not fact. Buy what you like. That's what I say.
Yeah.
If you love salamanders, get them.
Yeah, and don't feel bad when people
models. Are you sure?
Yeah. Like Dread Saurian might be on the other side of this right now, because like Dread Saurian, I saw that war scroll and I'm like, okay, yeah, 35 wounds, cool. And I look at its attack profiles, I'm like, okay, it's just gonna live forever doing nothing. And and that was my reaction. But like if I go on the internet and I'm like, yeah, Dread Saurian sucks. Like I just shit on somebody's parade. Like I just
what?
And when you say that, like, there could be like a really big Mr. Meth fan out there, Method Man. There could be a huge fan.
Method Man. Thank you.
Favorite. I mean, there's probably not any, honestly.
No, there's no fans for me, but there might be. Hypothetical. Keep going with this.
There could be a guy who's real big fan of Adam, and he's like, oh, but this Dread Saurian sucks. But it's like Dread Saurian is their favorite model.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, the guy I like said the thing that I like sucks. That sucks.
Yeah.
And so I don't like. I'm just like, I'm not saying you can be. I don't want to be overly positive and lie, but I'm not going to shit on your thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it has a use. Like
right,
a lot of people say, oh, it has rules, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can play it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a way to optimize it too. If you use it like a distraction fax, run it up the middle of the table, and then you take some of those lovely
Turn it up the table.
Yeah, just like turn it sideways, smash it into a bunch of stuff, and then shoot people to death with your teleporting, gun line or whatever.
Salamanders.
You're gonna have some fun, man. Like, and that's the thing is, like, for me, fun is the great override to this game.
Yep.
I think it's something that you capture really well on your show. Is that fun is the most important part. Because I mean, I tap out for reality to go play Sigmar. I know sometimes the RL follows me to the table. If I'm in a bad mood, I might seem like I'm in a little bit of a funk when I'm at the table too. But I'm like, you have to understand this is therapy for me right now. Every time I roll those dice, I'm letting go of whatever that funk was today, a little more and a little more. Like it's like, but like that fun is the thing I never want to ruin. I'll shoot you straight in terms of what I think about the stuff, but I'm never going to be like, this is garbage. This is the worst. Because when I just learned that hard lesson once. It took me one time of just shitting on something and realizing like there are like 100 people really excited about this thing, and I just crush carded their hopes to go for another deep cut. Like I'm not gonna be
like calling stuff like trash and garbage. It's like you can say it's not optimal.
Yeah.
But to dismiss it like it's that has no value.
Yeah.
But it has value to somebody. So I think if like and maybe I'm just like too positive and sunshine and rainbows about it. I think you could say, there's better stuff out there, but definitely take it if you want, but calling stuff like trash and garbage, I think it's
Yeah, that was the hard lesson. I think my exact word was a tragedy. Like I said, something was a tragedy. I'm like, yeah, that's.
Now I'm trying to think of what it is. Like, what do I almost think is a tragedy?
Well, like, I mean, I also like getting in this mind space where you're like missed opportunities, and I think this is relevant to Seraphon because there's a couple missed like sort of layups in that book. I think they could have, where the heck. Ripperdactyls, right? Like these are like an old, like just home run of a unit. They're fun to play with. They're really cool to see on the table. Stupid, spindly flying bases aside, but like they're one of those like they were holding up the whole faction. People loved these things, and you're just like, you kind of feel really bad about them now. The tiny little derp frog is just this great little interaction. Like so. It was. Yeah, it was. Like so, there's these moments where you're like, yeah, and like I hate having to go to takes where like I'm upset at what could have been, because that feels like playing the what if game with a battle tome, and I'm like that it's not fair to go what if the other way, what if it was worse? So it's probably not fair to go what if it was better too. I've refined my view of the game by like removing what if from how I assess things, and just really looking for the passion and the love of the game and what people have fun. Because again, like the people who are looking for your videos, 80% of this community isn't playing on that high level. Now at the same time, I'm gonna
Right, they're playing on like our level of just like throw the die,
yeah, and
push models.
Competitive.
I'm sorry.
Like, sometimes you get caught up into it. You think every game is like this. No, man, it's like it's the vast majority is not this hyper tuned at a GT, at a RTT, getting prizes and stuff like that. It's most of them. It's at a game store or with friends, and you honestly like. It's like what your buddy's bringing, so you're not.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah. Well, and there needs I need to say that is stuff I use as an override for me because my competitive lean is pretty well documented. Like I look at things in terms of optimization and stuff like that, and so those are things I remind myself with when I start to like go too far into
those,
that.
Crappy Magic the Gathering players.
Well, yeah, like when I start to sound a little bit too much like a Magic the Gathering player, I got to kind of like check myself. I'm like, okay, Andrew, like rein it back in there, Meph.
We haven't always done a good job of this, but like our games, and I think this is important for any level of Age of Sigmar, is like trying to cater the experience, and like it takes a while to learn, and you're not always going to get that right. But yeah, like if somebody's playing competitive, they're not going to have fun playing against somebody that's also not playing competitive, or if so if you are trying to do more narrative, more casual, like you want to have that like social exchange with somebody about like how do we put together a game, whether it's one thing or the other, but is enjoyable for everybody.
Right. I mean, some people really.
Age of Sigmar is good at doing that, but you have to
communicate.
You have to put in work to make it.
Yeah, you got to communicate. You got to put in the work, like you just said. I mean, one thing I've really been working at better is like I don't talk a lot about hobby personally because it's my weak it's my weak suit of the sort of categories of Age of Sigmar. But like I gotta. It's the first thing anybody sees or notices, or I think about this game. The second thing is probably the War Scrolls, but the first thing is the models, right? The big criticism of Seraphon. The first thing wasn't necessarily. I hope the temple thing is good. It was we didn't get new models, right? Like that was like the first. Yeah, right. Like and so like the models. I think it kind of starts with the models, and then from there, So I've been trying to like be more aware of like the hobby itself as just like a the actual painting and the actual models, and then from there going okay, competition, okay, am I engaging this opponent on a competitive level? Yes, no. Like, are they going to get a fun game if I Bobby Fischer them? If we're like two generals like making these grand tactical decisions, is that how they're going to get their fun? And the easiest way to figure that out is to just ask your opponent. Like, hey man, first tournament? Oh no, 20 tournaments in? Cool. Like, oh man, why are you what's up? Do you think you're more of a competitive player? You're here just for the fun? And if you're around enough tournaments, you can look at the list and go like, this is probably a competitive player. But from there it's you don't want to assume. Like I'm running Petragash because I think dinosaur bones are sweet. I went on record really early on. They just happened to be the filthy thing, and so like I had that moment where like I could self-comp or I could become a villain, and I'm like, oh, villain, totally. Like it wasn't.
How many stalkers do you have? How many Mortis Guard do you have?
Yeah, like 60 Mortec Guard and Nagash.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, 60 Mortec Guard?
Yeah.
Quaint.
Narrative player.
Perfect.
Yeah. Narrative.
Oh man, I thought my shoot cast was really killy until I tried to kill Petrifex Nagash. I'm like, oh, I gotta ignore him. I can't.
Yeah, no,
it's not happening.
The games I lost, my opponents ignored him. Like every game I've lost with Petragash, they've ignored Nagash and they've just killed the rest of my army or like stopped the rest of my army from getting to objectives. That's every loss. Is like the people who shoot at Nagash, especially, you just get like from 18 inches away. You just said I get to move my dude for free. Thanks. Yeah. Like thanks. Like so. But back to Seraphon. I love. We know that I love the Bone Daddies. We get it.
People ideas.
We get it. All right. Yeah. So what you were saying, I don't know how we got down here talking about like Coalesce versus Starborn, but that's one of those big first sort of. That's that first read I think of the tome. I think that's a fair one. And then from there, they did keep in sub factions as well, right?
Yeah.
So you've now got like 2 knobs to tune on before you've even put a model on the table, like 2 things to consider. And I think that's just, I mean, this goes back to that. I look at this book as just infinite possibilities. So if you want to talk maybe a little bit, I guess where do you want to go with this? You guys are the guests.
I was gonna say, if we want to talk about the sub factions, I think another thing I think is cool is that sub factions in other books, it's like kind of minimal direction. It's more just like, I mean, so like Petrifex Elite is just like, your guys are harder to kill. Like, cool, but you know, whatever you take
because they're made out of dinosaur
doesn't
bones.
really matter, right? You know, everything benefits from that rule.
Yes.
Whereas like then something like Thunder Lizard that I played, they're like play monsters. So I know like Maw Tribes is like this too. Some sub factions are like this, where they push you in a direction to like, hey, this unlocks Battle Line Stegodon. This makes all of your monsters better. And sort of like Monster Mash, you know, like Dino Stampede, whatever. Like if that was an army in your head, like they've now given you a good rule set to use. Whereas then the other way too, if you're like, I love Saurus, I want a bunch of Saurus, then they sort of made a sub faction to answer the possible, you know, areas somebody might want to focus on, or what was it, not Dracothian's Tail, what's then the other one? Fangs of Sotek. It's like that one is like for sure then the skink.
Hey, that's
one.
my side. Don't talk about Starborn. Stick to Coalesce.
All right. I'm just saying, I like that the are more answers to how somebody might want to play. Like I'm trying to think of like an example of a different book took that approach. So I don't know. Let's say Khorne, if there was like a sub faction. I mean, I don't know. Is there a sub faction if you're like, I want, you know, all dudes on juggernauts and horses. I want Chaos Knights. I want Blood Crushers. I don't know.
War Skull Battalions, but they're not sub faction. But there's now sub faction that lets you run in charge with Bloodthirsters from Wrath of Everchildren book.
Right. Okay. So that's a good example there. So then they made one. If somebody's just like, I want a bunch of Bloodthirsters, like, great, you now have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think Flesh Eater Courts kind of touched on that just like a little bit, but then it just turned out that like Terrorgeist were just kind of the way. But like Gristlegore tried to be, this is the monster army, you know,
like Crypt Flayers. You play Blister Skin.
Yeah, like they
like
tried
to.
Yeah. I don't think they quite like hit a home run on it, but like they tried to a little bit. And I think it's good design space to actually be pushing things in. I like when design kind of like plays with those dials when they're like, okay, like what's this look like? You know, Petrifex, the closest we get, I think, is with Staliarch Lords. Staliarch Lords is like telling you to play cavalry in the name because Staliarch is basically stallion. But then like you find out, you're like, the great failing of Staliarch Lords is that the Cavalos Lance battalion exists because it does like half the same thing, and you're like, oh man, like, so now I just play Petrifex and then just take that battalion and put that in Petrifex, right. So I get half of this other things. So that was like where I'm like, almost. But other than that, like
Stalkers and Morghast are like better in that.
Yeah, it was, you're more tech guard. They run in charge. Like, what more do you want? Like, this is a slow army. 7 inches plus run in charge. Like, now you're starting to get some speed. Like, so like you heard it here on RantCast. When the horrible, horrible nerfs come down for Petrifex Elite, tell your children, Staliarch Lords.
Brent had an opinion about Petrifex. Like, he was telling me, like, they're in the lore, they're not how they play. And so, like, what were some of your fixes that you think that they might be able to use?
I was like, we won't go too far.
We won't go too deep. Yeah, just keep it to a couple sentences because
I'm only going to say one thing. Okay. Is that the lore makes a point to talk about how slow they are. That like even they show up late to battles, and then when they finally do, they just like
grind everything,
like, crush people into mush. But it took them longer to get there than anybody else.
So what if Petrifex Elite in the lore can't use the +3 move RDP? Or like in their rules, like when you go Petrifex Elite, they turn that off. So like you get your Ren, you still grind people into pulp, but now you're 4-inch move skeletons.
Right.
Like
I thought about that. Is again like not in my focus on. I mean, it was just like a thought experiment.
Not a competitive balance, but this is a very good narrative.
Like, how do we make these guys worse? But it's like, but also, why, they make a point of this in the lore. Where is this in the rules?
Yeah, why don't we? They're not any. I mean, they're slower than Staliarch Lords, but like, but like that. No, it's a fantastic point. Like when lore, models, and rules all come together. When the lore, like, says it does the thing, and the sculpt looks like it does the thing, and the rules do the thing, that's a huge success. Exactly. Perfect. Like, and we have, I think every battle tome in this last year, we've gotten a lot of battle tomes. I think every battle tome has got those moments in it. Don't, like, whether the book was like the filthy one, or it kind of goes under the radar with like Beasts of Chaos, I know is kind of the one I think gets crapped on a little bit now, or probably Sylvaneth is the worst case scenario. They still have a couple of those moments where you go, that's totally Beasts of Chaos. Like, that's totally...
Well, you can just coalesce getting an extra attack with the jaws. Like,
yeah,
that already just plays into, they are more savage. Like, they will bite you again.
They will bite you again. Yeah, so some factions did and I agree with you that they kind of nudge you in a direction. Or if you love something, or looking at it backwards, if you love something, you go, which sub factions for me? That's really great for new player and veteran alike. That's where like that sweet spot is because like as a veteran player, I look and I'm like, okay, how do I break Saurus? Like I'm gonna look at it that way. And as a new player, you're gonna go like, how do I play Saurus?
Yeah, or like, I want lots of big dinosaurs, and then the book's just like, well, have I got the deal for you?
Yeah.
say if you did play last book, or if you were Seraphon before, Skinks were Skinks could have had 0 attack, 0.
Well, they were the army.
You could have just had movement and wary fighter, and that'd have been great.
Yeah,
just like then, attack dash.
Yeah. And so and you had and if you have a ton of Skinks, you can still play Fangs of Sotek, where wary fire is a super good ability, but they have something that it's not a replacement for. It's a replacement for it, but it's not as good just because wary fighter was so good. But it is different. They play differently. Like you can take a horde of shots that can be doing mortal wounds to wound, and they also have that run out of combat thing on, but it's on a 4-up now. But they do have a reality splitting act type thing where you can kill a unit like Nagash, Petrifex and Nagash. If you're able to get through all that, they have a thing on a 5-up. The model is slain.
Dang.
So that's they got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like Starborn is a bit more competitive just because speed kills and movement.
Speed does
malarkey kills.
Yeah.
It's like the best, like being able to teleport, because Lords of Space and Time is no longer, and that was one of the big keys why Seraphon was hanging in there, even though they had one of the.
Yeah.
Just being able to get where your opponent isn't, or just
they were the pinnacle of play the table, the army. Yeah. They were. I mean, it's Beasts of Chaos are kind of like that's where they settled in too, except they've got some good silver bullets. Seraphon had no silver bullets, just play the table. Like, and that was really the army with the summoning and the extra teleports. It just, that's all they kind of did. And they were kind of held aloft a lot by Skinks. So I do see a criticism of the book being, like, people upset that they don't get to play the way they used to anymore. Like, I see that being, like, you had 100 Skinks, right? Like, you're not running 100 Skinks anymore. And I'm sympathetic to that. It kind of sucks when the thing that if you loved playing super cagey and just like teleport against Skinks and like if that's what you loved about the army, like that one facet, you just lost that. And so I'm sympathetic to that. I did play Nagash in First Ed, YOLO solo Nagash with the old Mystic Shield. I lost that going into new in 2.0. Yeah, I got Grimghast Reapers, but I don't really care. I liked skeletons. I liked skeletons and YOLO solo Nagash. Right? That's what I loved about. And why do I love OBR now? I just got that again. So for me, I'm just like, oh, yeah. But, for like 1 year, I was like, oh, man, like, Nagash just hides behind 40 skeletons right now? That sucks. That's lame. He's the Lord of Death. He should just be killing shit. Except for Archeon. He should run from him. And Gotrek, probably. But, like, he's not the Supreme Lord of melee you to death. Yeah. Come on. Like...
This is a god. It's like when I see Ilarium, I'm like,
Like,
But
yeah,
now you look Archeon and Gash, like these guys feel like how they should.
yes, yeah, and I wish every god model for all the respective armies don't crap on Archeon and Nagash because like they got there, you know, like crack home runs, like boom, that's what it should look like. Bring the rest of them up there.
Yeah.
You know, like Alariel, like you're not gonna make anyone upset if Alariel is like on the table and you're like, oh shit, she just reincarnates whenever she dies, she can't be killed the whole time, and she costs like around that 800 point mark, where like she just is an 800 point can't be killed utility piece. Like you're suddenly gonna be like, oh yeah, goddess of life can't like just keeps reincarnating herself and like yeah, oh galaxy brain moment, right? You're not no one's gonna be really upset because one model's still one model. You know, like it can't be everywhere at once. So
I'm going back to you talking about if people have a ton of skinks and then like their army has changed, then maybe they need to buy new models. That's really unfortunate right now because the story and be like, all right, well, I'll add Stegodons. Oh, those are sold out. Well, how about Salamanders? Oh, those are sold out too. So
yeah,
that probably sucks.
yeah. I mean that really sucks. And so there's like I understand like some melees. Like I'm very sympathetic to it right now, especially if you're like the tried and true. Like you've been playing Seraphon for like 2 years, 3 years, and you're like I've got some Stegodons because like I was building them just cause, and like I've got a Dread Saurian on the off chance I would summon one day. But like if you're missing a couple of those pieces to like make a list work, and all you got are skinks, you're gonna feel like there's gonna be some feels bad while you wait for that supply to fill in. So again, I just want to go on record as being sympathetic to I think some of the problems while we're celebrating.
I think we always do that because like I don't know, we've had chats about some changes to armies, and we agree. Okay, so like it's like the joke version is just saying models, but like then the other part is like no, everybody should like we want everybody to feel good about what they have, and it is very disappointing when just rules writing takes things in a different direction, and then you're missing kind of what you had before.
Yeah,
you know? She feels that way about his Warherd because that was his like first like go all in on painting, armies on parade. He just went to a lot of store. I mean, like when I met him, like he was working on that. That's how he just like really got out into the communities with that army. And it's funny, like now even post like points drops for. So not to mention, like he was just sort of disappointed with the Beast of Chaos book, like just at all. But then like as these points dropped, like his previously 1,000 point, fun taken to the shops list is now like 700 points. Like he has to add a bunch of stuff to it now because they keep going down.
This race to the bottom that Vince Venturella talks about.
I made the joke too the last time they did like a points adjustment, and it was just like everything Warhead drops, and I was like, they watched one of our videos, didn't they? It was like, oh my gosh, what have we done? Drop their points down.
Well, like, and they're more willing to drop the points than to rewrite the War Scrolls, which would be like, because I mean, what would be preferable is a Gorgon going down in points or a Gorgon going up to 400 points and feeling like a goddamn Maw Crusher, right? You would rather have that than it feel like 160 point, like scrapper. You want it to feel like that 400 point huge awesome thing. And so, like, that's another sort of point of design where, like, when they just drop the points as opposed to change the War Scrolls. With the new book, it's like, this is the opportunity to rewrite all the War Scrolls, right? And that's where you're just
that's why, and I will say, I'm very positive about the Seraphon book. But if we do want to be critical, I super like it. But Pterodons and Riperdactyls, what I think is, like, a good indicator of you kind of miss the mark, like, with the, like, when they're writing the rules, I think they need to take into account somewhat what the models cost, because Pterodons and Riperdactyls are $60 US kits, and now they're 90 and 80 points, and that doesn't really that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Not that like, just if you're paying $60 for a kit, then you should write rules where maybe they land 140, 150, 160 points because they have abilities to match. I mean, you think about like, I want to say like Evocators on Dracolines, I think, are a $60 kit. Like there should be a closer gap there where I'm very confused why they took the route with the War Scrolls that they did, if then it resulted in them being like this, the 3 Riperdactyls is worth 80 points. I was like, well, Give them something else and make them more points, because
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't often think about like the cost of like kits and stuff. I think it's something you become aware of when you play more armies. You know, I'm very much a homer for like the armies I love. I've got, you know, I play
Sure.
Death, and then I've got my what I call my vacation home, which is my Beast of Chaos. And I'm thinking I might build a second vacation home with Seraphon. I mean, they're for my son. They're for my son. It's not for me. It's for him. But yeah, like
I guess so. Then for perspective, you know, what if a Gothazar Harvester
hell yeah
was like 60 points and had a war scroll that was like 60, it should be 60 points, but then it's also $50. I was like that. There's a disparity there that, yeah, I think that they didn't do a great job for Ripperdactyls and Pterodons.
Yeah. But that's so we're a show that is critical. So we were critical now. Where do you think they hit the home run?
Also positive.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. Where do you think they hit the home run? Like then in terms of like reallocating.
I really liked it's the switch on the Carnosaur's damage of like at full health his jaws are 5 damage. So it used to be he had 5 attacks and they did 3 damage. Now he has 3 attacks and they do 5 damage. So not only is it just hilarious that like one of his bites goes through and he just takes a massive chomp out of somebody, but then there is the added bonus too of like, but also if you play this in Coalesced, then you get another attack with 5 damage.
Yes.
So like they definitely got a combat buff in Coalesced, which again, like if I'm so I played one when I played Thunder Lizard. I wanted dinosaurs to be scary, so like that all worked together. But also just like a simple kind of change like that. Like, is it more fun to do 5 attacks with 3 damage, or is it more fun to do 3 attacks with 5 damage? For me personally, I would rather have the big exploding giant damage and be like, my T-Rex just ate you, yeah. Like,
yeah, 100%. I think it feels. It's a huge dinosaur. It should feel like a 5 damage. Yeah. All right, continue, man. I cut him off, and I see it.
My pick is the Source Warrior. From where they were to where they are now is I think it's big boost. Them getting +1 to their save, and under Starborn, getting that Sunclaw Star Host. So you can have like the guys with just the clubs having the -2 rend. Like unit running around with -2 rend. If it's a horde, they get the horde bonus of they have 15 or more models +1 attack. And I do dig the synergy. There's a lot of synergy, a lot of command points from Slan and Lord Croak and the Skink Priest and Star Priest, and just buffing up your units and able to get a unit of just battle line with -2 rend. It's really easy to get. It definitely answers some of the questions with like that Petrifex Elite ask. You get through 3 up armor. Well, if I have -2 rend, it's gonna help me.
Rend 2 and Mortal Wounds, baby. Like yeah. What
about you?
Me,
Okay, I'll also add in the Stegodon.
I mean, I mean, that's kind of where I would have went. Is like they did the thing I would have hoped for a dinosaur army, which is make dinosaurs battle line. Like that for me is just like that's the win for me. This is when Gristlegore came out, everybody who played big monsters just went, what? Why don't my big, why can't I run 6 big monsters the list, right? Like everybody's brain immediately jumped to that, and then like it took probably until I think it was at Maw Tribes where they're like, fine, your battle line guys to like lose the like they kind of like when they made that reservation that Beast Claw Beast Riders on Stonehorns when they said you get to be battle line 2 and lose your monster keywords so you can run 6 monsters in your list hashtag no less than 5 like once they did that like I'm just sitting there I'm like if the dinosaurs don't get to run the all dinosaur army I'm gonna be really mad. So, and they're good. Like that's the other side of it is like when I can do it, and then I'm like, oh, but it sucks. Like they're good. I don't think it's deep.
Awesome. I played.
Yeah. So, but you can go ahead and expand on because it sounds like we kind of crossed our wires there on that one.
Oh no, we're good. Well, I was gonna say like, if you listen to like Warhammer Weekly makes this joke, we make this joke, but when like a rule is so specific. Like, you have to do this at the end of the shooting phase, only if it's Tuesday. Like, I don't think this rule is like that, because this rule is just too cool. But the rule for the Stegadon that you, at the start of the combat phase, pick an enemy unit of no more than 5 models, and you get +1 to save against them because it has the head crest and it turns to face them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that is like very specific, that is too awesome. Like, I am super here for rules like that. Like, you know that +1 to save is good.
Yeah. Guilty as charged.
To have it like narrative like that, to me, is really cool.
Well, I think the other part of that, like, when a rule is too specific, then it's got to be free. That's my mentality on it, is like, you can have rules like that because they add flavor. These are what I call like the sharp edges in art, or sharp edges in narrative, or sharp edges in design. Like, sharp edges are like these little like weird things that, like, if you were just a total robot, you'd have polished them down to make the more efficient, aerodynamic, perfect thing. But like, when you leave those little sharp edges on, you make it look more interesting. You give something for people to grab onto, or to prick themselves on and like remember it. Like, that's
Great way.
Yeah, that's how I think about it. You know, why do I like indie video games more than like AAA video games now? Because I can feel those sharp edges still in the game, so I get the sense that the writer who wrote that, or the designer who designed that, is still there, as opposed to a team of 1,000 that polish down all those sharp edges. The sharp edges, like, when you make it specific, the balance factor is just, don't charge me points for it. You know, like, it should just be this fun, cool narrative thing. And the Stegadon's point cost seems to be kind of already right, and then you go, oh, cool, and then it can get a +1 against the thing. I mean, if you're picking apart somebody's army, like chess moves, and counter moves, you're gonna go put that. It's gonna look at that one unit, boom, you know, clean. Of course, yeah. So I like it. I like that shooting dinosaurs feel. I mean, the description I would give a new player like 2 years ago is like, do you like dinosaurs riding dinosaurs? Do you want your dinosaurs to have laser beams? You know, like, and then like,
what if there were no humans?
What about dinosaurs?
Yeah, yeah. And then like, I'm like, I am lying to them because the army doesn't play that way. No, it's just like 100 skinks moving around the table. like,
we'll start liking them.
I'm no longer a liar. You know, like, I really, like, if I sell you the army on the premise of dinosaurs riding dinosaurs and some of them shoot lasers, like, that's what you're playing now.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about it, so this is maybe a good point too. I love what they did with terrain. I think this is the unsung hero of the book right now. I see a lot of people talking about salamanders. The reason it's not overpowered is because terrain is random, and random tends to be synonymous with bad, or too random tends to be synonymous with bad. Obviously, it's a dice game. Random is part of it. So it's very random. There's 12 terrain types, but when you can realm, it's a narrative rule. They're shaping the realm. You know, like, that's the thing they're doing, which is totally metal. Like, they are making the terrain work for them. When the stars align on that terrain, it's gonna be awesome, and the flavor is already there. And you're giving me something that, like, roots not just my army, not just my book in my army and my models. You're rooting it on the table, and I love that. Like, I love that about this. So yeah,
it's funny that in the first game that we played, I wanted to use, we didn't have the Realm Shaper engine, but I wanted to at least use for Coalesced, where they, you know, like, these terrain features belong to us and they only benefit us, and then the ones that hurt you only hurt you. And then we were playing Battle for the Past, so my deployment zone is this like crappy triangle, and it has like 2 terrain pieces in there that nobody's ever touched. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so that's kind of lost in this game, but I agree, this rule is really cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, it's gonna go unsung for a little bit, but like, you're gonna, once we've played like 100 games with them, you know, like, once we've seen like 3 months of people playing with them, like, there's gonna be people walking away from the game like, that fucking terrain, you know, like, they're just gonna, you know, like, and I'm like, yeah,
it's just the generic hill with a tree too, and like, killed all your dudes.
Yeah, exactly, and I just think it's really cool. I like it because, again, I think it takes that narrative, and it just, not only does it like translate to the models, it translates to the table. And now that you're starting to like impact the table, and if I had a theme for Games Workshop in the last sort of like 4 or 5 books specifically. I think they're books that are very aware of the table now. Before they were very aware, they said, how do models interact with each other, right? And that was like the question they were answering and asking. Now they're like, well, how do models interact with the table? And I think that's where like Petrifex comes in. That's where like I'd even posit like something like Maw Tribes, which is a very fast army trying to get around any army that's teleporting and moving really, really fast. And now they started to add layers to that with terrain, with teleports, hiding your teleports behind a battalion or moving it into a subfact, things like that, where they're really being more aware of how to put those sort of like levers in that people can pull. I really think that's really great. So
I dig it. I think the other part too is like, we talked about remembering Lustria, so
yeah,
I played a lot of Warhammer Fantasy, but like what they made important about Lustria is that like if you come here you die. The jungle is full of snakes and creatures and like the plants, everything will kill you. And now I feel like that's what they're doing with these rules, is that they're recreating the jungle again, and the jungle's gonna get you.
Yeah,
that's great. Like that.
I feel like we've talked a lot about Coalesce now, so we got to give Jack his moment to shine.
Then talk about the other one.
You have the floor. Talk about the lame Starborn. No.
You guys realize how important 10 leadership is?
Yeah. No. Leadership is huge. Yet another benefit I enjoy as the bad guy. Continue.
I think just a big fan of Dracothian's Tale. If you're a fan of Skinks, which they probably took the biggest hit, I think, out of the book. But Dracothian's Tale, letting you set up half your army in the celestial realm, for lack of a better term, like Stormcast, where you can come down and just how big. Because I think, like, before, Seraphon were one of the people who kind of got decided, because they had a lot of mega battalions in the GHB.
Yeah, you cut out there, but you're saying they were one of the armies that got to choose who goes first. They dictated.
A lot of one drop. So if they put the one drop, I get to go or you get to go. They get to decide. And now it's their kind of. You're probably gonna. They're higher drops from what I've noticed, and so with being able to put your stuff in the celestial realm, like Dracothian's Tale is such a nice thing, because you can protect things from like Bellicor, or Bellicor as I like to call them, because that ability, like to shut down a unit for a potential 2 turns, is huge.
Yeah.
And so I feel that Starborn is the more competitive. So if you do get the people who want to take 20 salamanders or something like that, being able to drop down salamanders higher is a big difference between that and movement and then trying to shoot.
Right.
Because you can't always say, what's your threat range? Let me park right outside. Whereas like my threat range is outside of 9 of you and then shooting.
Yeah,
so
it's 20 inches.
You can just kind of try to get me off the table, but if you don't, I'm going to shoot you.
Right, and I think we're seeing the sort of drop and shoot that that Stormcast were sort of popularizing there. KO of course sort of did it before too. They do it better now. And Zinch is doing it a little bit with Change Host and Flamers. Like this drop and shoot, that just seems to be the way they took shooting. And sort of a counter to that is like, how do you counter shooting? By being able to keep your important pieces off the table. Coalesce might be just the strongest counter shooting army in the they might be a really strong counter shooting army, because they're just going to Zinch. Or not Coalesce, I'm sorry, Starborn.
That's right.
Sorry, I'm wired for I'm wired for the dinosaurs that are huge.
Like how much damage do long strikes do to Coalesce?
Enough. Don't worry about it. Oh man, well, if they do a mortal wound, 2.
That's true. 2 more wounds.
Yeah. So like like in a landscape where like the shooting meta is back in like bold letters, right? The Starborn are very cognizant of that, and I think that's really, it's something to be aware of. Is they've given them the tools to compete in that shooting meta and be a powerhouse amongst all of it. And Yeah, I think if you wanted to be doom and gloom, like, oh, salamanders are the new flamers, I think that's a lazy take, because how does it fit with the rest of the army, honestly? I think there's...
Unbelievable!
I think there's a really cool... you guys actually brought this up on your battle report, like how they sort of, salamanders in specific, kind of mess with the nature of screens. Like with how they protect their...
They got free wounds.
Yeah.
From skinks.
Yeah, they're almost like artillery. They're like almost like artillery pieces. They do get that skink keyword so that you can give them like the +1 to hit, +1 armor save. Like you can give them a lot of those skink buffs. So, so like
and they
that
should be artillery. I think in the FAQ they'll be erratic.
You think so? Okay.
All right. You can still have 12.
Yeah.
If they're artillery, but I think they will because they.
If they're not, you could have a single salamander. Like, how many different single salamanders?
20.
All right. That would be...
That'd be oppressive. Yeah. Yeah, that moves the scales towards oppressive. Fair enough. Yeah, no, Go on.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That would tip the scales towards oppressive. Like, you can be great. There is no crime in being great. Being oppressive to where... You know, it comes down to meaningful decisions for me. That is always the final question I ask myself when I'm beginning to perceive something as too broken. But is there a meaningful decision, right? And sometimes when the answer is no, then that's where I start to like go. All right,
20 salamanders.
Yeah.
Fire!
Yeah, you can have 20 salamanders and 2 priests.
They should. Dot army. Dot army. Dot army. Yeah.
No, there we go. 21 drops. How you doing?
Well, at that point, it doesn't matter, though, right? Like, it just doesn't matter.
Like,
no.
Anyway.
I'm going to kill you anyway. Like, whatever, man.
Yeah. I saw a question in this chat. This is a side. Somebody was asking if you prefer Game of Thrones or Wheel of Time.
Oh, that was Davis from last week, who I owe one model now. I prefer Wheel of Time. Big fan of that. And thanks for asking. They have a show coming out. I think it's this year or maybe next year. But yeah, I'm on my 5th reread of the series.
How do you feel about Sanderson finishing it up there?
The first book that he came back with, you could tell it was.
You could tell. Sorry,
I became a fan of him through him finishing the books.
So yeah, you cut out there for a second. What did you say? The first book when he came back?
Oh yeah, you could definitely tell it was like. Different. Some of a couple of my favorite characters, they felt like they had a different voice, and then he got into his groove for the other books, and so it was like it needed to be done. I'm glad he did it, but it was a monumental task, and I'm a fantasy fan as far as books, and that's my favorite. I've reread it a bunch of times now, or I've read it once, and then I listened to audiobooks a bunch of times.
It counts. It counts. No, I mean, Robert Jordan was he had a very particular style that I think became very, sort of, it became very much like a part of fantasy, culture, the way he told stories. And I guess I believe it is his wife essentially helped Sanderson finish it off with all of his notes and so on and so forth. And we might actually end up with a scenario like that with the Song of Ice and Fire, because
oh yeah,
who's finishing those books?
Yeah, who are they gonna? They'll tap Sanderson to finish. Yeah, they'll Brent from Rerolling Ones.
Oh yeah, you can.
Oh no! I'm saying Brent. No, Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
I'm not touching that. I saw what people thought of this show.
Of season 8, you're like, nope, just nope out of it.
Hard pass.
They're super loyal in the beginning, but
maybe at least know not what to do, or what not to do.
I liked the notion of the dragon burning the throne. I thought that was pretty cool, but then it was only a symbolic gesture, and then that ruined it for me. Spoilers. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, awesome thing. Oh, it's just purely meaningless. You just wrote it for the cool scene, and it meant nothing. All right, whatever.
The best meme was I hope the dragon thought that the chair
killed her. You killed the stupid chair.
Yeah. Was it the guy with the one sword or the thing made out of many swords? It was totally the many sword. Yeah, the more swords is what killed her.
This guy's been cool to me the whole time. It had to be the chair.
Yeah. Face turn, right?
chair turned heel.
Yeah. That plot twist. The chairs.
May Austin.
Oh, that's a deep cut there. The Stone Cold Steve Austin. Rip. Yeah. So anything else you want to mention about the Starborn on the side? You made it pretty. I think you made it pretty eloquent that there's this is where you're going to go for maybe this landscape of competition, right?
Yeah.
Like they've got the answers to the Petrifex Elite. I think they've got in a way they've got an answer to the shooting meta. Tzeentch and KO.
Like Tzeentch can't hide anything.
Yeah.
That's there. So if they're gonna teleport flamers or doing, they're gonna do that, and then you can counter that.
Yeah.
Like I see your teleported flamers, and I raise you. Salamanders come down.
Yeah, and Tzeentch for all the heat it gets right now. Heat, get it? For all the heat it gets right now, they do have a lot of like hero reliance. So I mean, and you're just gonna be able to pinpoint snipe.
Yeah.
Nothing is
Like
safe.
all the flamers are made of paper, so
Yeah, and all the flamers are made out of paper. Yeah, so no, I any other thoughts on Seraphon? Anything you wanted to go a little bit deeper on? I think I just kind of want a good cursory read of it for people.
I haven't read the lore. I didn't get to read all of that, but I read a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if the original Seraphon book talks about the old one, or if they brought them back from Warhammer Fantasy in this. Because this book is just straight up like, the old ones created the Seraphon, and they are trying to recreate their plan. They have artifacts from the old ones. Like, they make a big deal about them, and I wasn't sure that the previous book did. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I was at least excited to see that, not only as it's like, okay, you're going back to something that was cool, but then also trying to move it forward. So there's a part in here where they're talking about like, yeah, the old ones might have created the realm gates, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty metal.
So there's some deep mystery in here that I'm sure Doug 2+ Tough will walk us.
He'll do the deep dive
through.
Yeah, hold our hand.
Now he's talking about Necromunda and
Yeah, Infinity.
I was pretty interested. Other parts too, like I hunted around a little bit. The Thunder Lizards are supposed to basically be guarding like vaults of ancient Seraphon technology that is like old one technology. I think that's cool. It has like storylines.
Are we about to
and then Kotal's Claw, I read about that too, and it's a lot of fun talking about like how these guys hack you to pieces with like tooth clubs, and it's just like everything it describes is very. So it's also if you want your lizard guys to just tear people apart, then you'll get excited about that faction.
Well, I like. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. You first, dude.
Like you mentioned when we first started, like my main is Stormcast. That's kind of what I took last year. I'm switching to cities for this season, but how great of an ally Slam Mages and Lord Croak are for Stormcast, because I found myself really being command point hungry. I got to take the Aether Quartz Brooch and just pray that I get a 5 or a 6 so I can get like with Shootcast or with Celestial Vindicators, I think it was, where it might have been Celestial, where you need command points for that army. And Croak, you're getting an average of 2 because he rolls 3 dice and every 4 up is a CP.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get potential 3 just that first turn. And so now you're sitting at 4 and
5 with the battalion.
Allies. He's 320 points. He's a +1 dispeller table wide, and he I think teaming him with a Star Drake, so you're getting multiple D3 mortal wounds on units a game, and giving him another +1 to cast. I think they are great in Stormcast armies.
Yeah, I mean, Order has always had, I think, a struggle over other armies or other battle tome, other GAs, because they have a lot more moving parts than Death. Death is 4 tomes. I mean, Nighthaunt is like 3 armies, kind of, but when it gets right down to it, we've got 4 armies. The fact that War Clans is 3 armies in one book, plus you got Maw Tribes, that's 4 armies in Gith, that's 5 in Destruction. Like, those are very... Order has a huge as a huge like sort of compliment of it. And so like all those moving parts that they have to assess when they kind of release books and stuff like that, it means that sometimes like something that isn't obviously great in its own army has some real life expectancy in someone else's army, which is both good and bad, right? Sometimes it feels bad to play out of your faction. Sometimes it feels awesome if you have a really great theme for it, or a really great idea for it.
Trump's gonna have a Seahawks colored mask, and he's gonna fit right in.
Yeah.
With Masoka.
Yeah, that's great. Real quick here, Mitsuki, does GW progressively make new factions stronger like this to answer competitive skew? I think that would be a lazy or a oversimplification. I mean, Skaven was one of the first books released in the new wave. It's still one of the best books in the new wave. So it's kind of an exception, but then you go like next up it's Flesh Eater Courts and Slanesh. Both those books, even post nerf, hold up just as strong as anything right now. You know, I do think what we're seeing is something more notably Fire Slayers, for instance. Fire Slayers is probably S tier, right? Many people would agree. It's like Petrifex Elite, except they can also run in charge, teleport, and activate twice. Like, yeah, so like, and Rend they don't care about quite as much because it's all about the after saves for them. I didn't just have one exception. I had the entire first half of the releases as exceptions. What I think you're seeing is recency bias. People want to play the new thing. It's pretty. People want to play the new thing. There's attention on the new thing to build the new thing. So right now we just talked about some really good, strong stuff. Like, so you're going to hear our podcasts that are recent. You're going to go watch their battle reps that just showed Seraphon. Like, you're going to probably want to play some of the new stuff. So you're going to see people who are playing some of that older stuff drop off the older stuff. But, like, it doesn't mean that the new thing is always the better thing 100%. I do think what you're seeing, though, is this notion of a living meta or a rock, paper, scissors meta. And I think that that's becoming a little bit more the norm, because early on, we had a very narrow game. We had two good armies. Everyone else was outdated. It was very top heavy. It's the Vince Venturella fat middle. I think the fat middle is evolving into this rock, paper, scissors. It's not just any army is in that like comfortable fat middle with a couple outliers on either side of the bell curve. I think you're actually seeing within that fat middle, this army beats that army beats this army, and this nice little like cyclical, sort of robust, interesting, fun living game. Because they've given enough tools within each battle tome to where like, okay, yeah, Petrifex Elite's a problem. Everyone starts bringing Rend 2 and Mortal Wounds, and now I go, okay, so like they kill my stuff as good as if I had one save worse. Well, now I need the extra mobility of Staliarch Lord, so I'm going to go back to my tome as everyone answers the problem of my army, and I'm going to run with I'm going to stop taking Petrifex Elite. I'm going to start taking Staliarch Lords. They're going to see that I've started taking Staliarch Lords. They're going to move off the extra Rend in their army. They're going to move. That's what you're seeing. And I think that the fact that our game takes a long time to build the models, learn the rules, play the games, get your rep in, I think you see a sort of the problems stay highlighted for a little bit longer than maybe they should, while everyone sort of races to catch up. But it doesn't mean that the new thing is just inherently the most busted thing. Y'all care to comment or disagree with me by all means, because I don't want to tell people what to think.
That was beautiful.
I'll at least also say, like, I don't know the timeline for how they write books, but just like with printing and them, I have to imagine that, Seraphon was like, they were done writing that before anybody was like, Zinch is busted and Bone Reapers are busted. Like, I think this was done well before that.
They're probably writing it.
Yeah.
I know.
I definitely don't see them like, writing rules to counter stuff that they don't know, like hasn't been like received by like the players yet.
That, and there's probably multiple teams or multiple projects going on simultaneously. Like you look at me, like I'm a writer as well. The short story I finish for a project might not be the one I started first. It's just the one that in my sort of list of priorities, they shifted around. It's the thing I had the better idea for. Now you're talking about not just one writer, you're talking about several writers, you're talking about a whole model lines of a release. Maybe Seraphon came out later because they didn't have the pyramid ready. You know, they could have wrote it before Tzeentch. Like, I mean, we simply don't know enough about the process. We can speculate, and it's totally fun to do that. But, I mean, it's really... I don't think there's some malicious, like, evil, like, M. Bison figure, like in Street Fighter, just, like, arms crossed, like, now release the Tzeentch.
I was like, you thought this was bad.
Like, this isn't even my final form. Like, you know, like, I don't... like, some Machiavellian release plot, and just, like, like, I don't know.
Coach is saying...
I'm sorry, you're cutting out again?
Oh, I said... Coach said that... since Christmas. Speaking of Coach, he's going to be up here June. He's going to film a couple bat reps with us, so it's going to be awesome.
Oh, damn it. That's going to be awesome. Yeah, and then we're going to go and win Midwest Meltdown's teams, or doubles.
Yes.
The Mega Powers.
I might get on the waiting list for that since since Adept, sadly.
You know, we can kind of come back to like what we were talking about earlier with Adepticon. I think we're going to see some people maybe displaced to Midwest Meltdown. The CDC was projecting by June for it to be out of the pandemic level, right? Because that's really what it's about. We might see progress or turnaround sooner on it. So hopefully. There was another question here in chat for y'all. I'll let you field this one since I really... Oh yeah, it's got your name on it. What are your take on Lumineth?
It's that is one of the things, like, it doesn't do anything for me, but I'm glad it exists and it does something for other people. Like, I'm not gonna like poo-poo it, but it's like I probably won't play it, but I'm glad it's out there.
None of us have put our hands up to be. I'm getting those when they come out, so we'll see. You know, if anybody is going to start them, it's going to be Doug because he started every army.
I'll buy it off Doug.
Right. And then it'll be on the channel. No, I really like the first wave. You know, that they showed. I really like Teclis. I really like the Orlon Wardens. Kind of now the second wave, the dude sitting on the
the Earthbender or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, that one is not to my taste, but really, like, elves have never been my thing anyway, so it's kind of like I like Deepkin, which then people are like, Deepkin aren't elves.
It's like, but it's true though. There's something quintessential about the elf that you just don't like, and since IDK aren't a real elf by elf player standards, like, yeah, because whatever it is about elves that make you not an elf person, they don't have it, and so you can like IDK. I think that's a more than fair take. But yeah, if you got more to add there.
No, I'm just IDK. They're Zoras from Zelda, like they're not elves, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see more. I'm really curious if there is a Tyrion model. I'm hoping that would be super cool, but I don't know. They're.
I think
they look all right, but I don't know that any of us are stand up and say that's mine.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things, like, going back to having a bet rep channel, is I found myself saying, "Oh, it's just a studio army," and I have way too much stuff. My backlog is ridiculous. You mentioned Sandbox. Cities of Sigmar is quicksand. There's so much. I'm drowning, and I'm gonna go this way now. Oh, I'm gonna go this way. I have 6 gyrocopters sitting over here that I'm not using anymore, and I have, how many of the Corsairs did I get from you? I have
20 or 30. Yeah.
And like
you got the Charybdis.
Now I'm building 40 Iron Drakes.
Part of 40 for Charybdis.
And I have 75 Pistoliers and Outriders. And I'm like, what happened? I can't play all of them at the same time.
Channel Army.
Yeah, channel.
Channel Army.
I have 3 Hurricanums. Why do I need?
Justice.
Yeah, I think
like, you do have people are very generous. You know, being that we don't have a Patreon. Well, and they'll offer me these deals. I can't pass that up. You're gonna tell me, like, you're gonna offer me this deal. I'm like, all right, man. And so I have too much stuff. And so looking at Lumineth, unless, like, I don't want to put it this way, unless GW stuff, I probably won't pick up any.
You're not gonna have. I mean, there'll be a fan who'll want you to like play with them just to like have a battle rep of them.
And then that would be a thing. Well, somebody will want to. Well, can't. I got fans, dog. I gotta please the people.
Yeah, this is,
But,
you're sounding like me with like Seraphon and my son. It's like I'm not buying myself.
For me.
I'm not breaking my 2 armies rule. I'm buying my son his first army.
Dude, you know how much I don't want to play Seraphon but now I do because I just want to beat him because he likes Coalesce and I like Starborn.
Yeah.
And I just want to show him how it's done.
Yeah.
I don't need another army right now. But I do have Lord Croak and like
See,
I have Skinks for my
you've already opened Pandora's box. Like you already.
Yeah,
You've already got
100 points of KO. How did that happen?
Cities.
How did I get 15?
Cities.
I got Tempest Die and I wanted this and then I'm one of those. I'm a mark. I'm a GW mark. They know like I'm a pigeon. They see me coming.
That's where like I'm like right now I'm happy to just kind of live in Bone Daddy land, and build my skeletons and build a couple different builds of them. I want to run the bone cast or the bone stampede, like a brass stampede, just all murder ponies.
Yeah.
Like a full murder pony list where you just pin him in and you move fast. You got to go fast like Sanic. So I'm just gonna like build a couple different builds and really build out the OBR range so that I can just like as the points adjust, I can just like go on the shelf. This thing's viable now, and that's just where I'm gonna live for
like that whole range.
That's where
I'm not allowing myself to until I like paint more.
Yeah, it doesn't to be a completionist, and then you're like, whoa.
Well, GW will always tell you the next thing. They've got our numbers as fans,
Yeah, dude,
and so it's like
get out of my brain.
Yeah, well, exactly what you said, like with Lumineth, is like it's not for you, but like on the side that you are right now, like there's someone on the polar opposite side. They're just like yes, and their name is Bryce Schultz, and he was just on RantCast like 3 weeks ago. Like it's like there's
to them
with OBR is the same way as like I saw a bunch of people like Joker skeletons, the Joker skeletons. I'm like, I love that about them. They're just mocking Sigmar. It's awesome. Like the thing where like you'd say something like it's negative, like, they're just Joker skeletons. I'm like, they're Joker skeletons.
A stupid army full of giant dinosaurs.
Like, yeah, it's a stupid army full of giant like where you're just like, like they say the thing and you're just like, that's exactly what I love about it. That's what I think they do. Go on. You got a point there, Jack.
When people were saying, "Oh, they're just Space Marines," and I was like, I thought they looked cool. I was like, wait, I was curious. They got me intrigued at them, and then but some people hate Stormcast. They like it's because it represents something to them. It hurts something that they loved, and they just have a visceral reaction when they see Stormcast. To me, it's just like. They're kind of cool. I like this.
Well, I think it's fun to Vince actually like kind of said it better, and so I'm gonna just bastardize completely what he said. I think it's fun to kind of like hate on something that doesn't matter. This is what like hating on the Seahawks.
Oh, absolutely.
Doesn't really like. Jack, you know that we're good. Like I make fun of the Seahawks, you make fun of the Packers. We have a great time of it because it's something like that doesn't actually matter. It's not like I'm making fun of like your way of life or what
my identity isn't wrapped up.
Yeah,
I just like them.
Yeah,
and so I'm not offended by you taking shots at them.
Yeah, right. And I'm insecure, which is why I take shots at the Seahawks. But no, it's like there's sort of a fun in like disliking stuff and I love to put it like, righteous indignation is one of the best feelings you can have. Where you're just like, I am incensed for no reason. Like it's the angry nerd trope, right? Like it's fun to do that. It is. But like I look at a lot of the like AOS armies and I'm just like, I get that. I get that. Like I'm like, it's not for me, but I get that. And so anytime I see someone excited about the thing, I'm just like, not my thing. Awesome. And Stormcast, by the way, you'll be surprised to know, I don't hate them. I meme hate Sigmar, and I'll make fun of all the good guys and Order armies and so on and so forth. But I actually think that, like, the Stormcast lore is, like, the coolest good guy for this setting. Like the whole
I
like
don't
reef.
like Stormcast.
What's that?
I said, I don't like Stormcast anymore now that you like.
Yeah, there, and now my true plot has revealed itself. No, like
Do you ever smack talk like narratively? Because that's the most fun.
I'm getting into it. Like, I mean, like the main take is like Sigmar's a soul thief, but do you mean like I need to do it with an old English accent or something?
Or just even that, like, when you're threatening somebody, yeah, like you're threatening to be like, give me your bones. Like,
Oh.
I'm going to take all of the bones of your children and I'm going to make it into a seemingly mundane part of our society.
Oh, bridge.
Because we need bones. Like,
Yeah, we need bones.
like
No,
that.
I did that with Chuck.
If you're a Lumineth player, like, if you're already getting into the idea, like, they already made it clear that they are, like, now so, like, part of, I don't know, their code or whatever is they're, like, emotionally cold. So they're basically just telling everybody, like, you're all petulant children and, like, your lives are meaningless. You know nothing. Like, you get to be that. That's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I throw myself into the persona a lot of like, like the tax
turn
collector.
your bones into a beer cookie. Enjoy.
No. Look. I don't know why your stupid Starborn don't want to pay taxes. Do they not enjoy infrastructure? Like, don't you want a bone bridge or a bone road? What happens if your house bone catches on fire? Who's gonna bone put it out, dude? Like, pay your taxes. Yeah, like...
What am I supposed to build roads out of? Concrete?
Yeah, that's so impractical. Like, I invented an entire type of magic that turns bones into stuff. Okay?
You got it, man. That's perfect.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's I do think the Smack Talk, the WWE persona, which becomes a narrative thing. I'm coming up with like I'm right now I'm puzzling together because Coach and I are Midwest Meltdown partners, and he's gonna play his cities and I'm gonna play my death, and it's like I want to make a display board for us where like one half of it's like the undead side and the other half is the city side, and like it's like we're two sides of the same coin, like type thing where it's like almost like a Flesh Eater Courts like before after or side by side snapshot of the illusion and the reality or whatever, something like that, and then coming up with like a cool little like narrative for like why this city and the city of Sigmar is working with the Bone Daddies, like maybe like maybe they had like a really great like contract like writer in the city, and so like the Bone Daddies show up to like have them write the contract, and like they get gotcha'd by the contract, and they're like the Mortisians are just reading the contract, they're like, God damn it says we have to defend the city now. You know, like something like that, like to write like a kind of a fun little...
They're gonna give us bones.
They're gonna give us bones, but like to get the bones, I guess we gotta, I mean it is binding, and like the Mortisian like has like spectacles on, is like reading it over, like what you did here. Okay, yeah, bones plus 1,000. Oh, but yeah, and then like, okay, so it says here we get to collect 1,000 bones from you. And he's like taking the glasses off, and then like the general on the Griffin's like, oh, but did you read the bylaws? And then like puts it back on. God damn it! Yeah.
Some restrictions.
Yeah, exactly. But you didn't read the fine print. And they're just like, no, Sigmar! And they're just like screaming to the clouds. We didn't pay our taxes, and now you have to do community service at Midwest Meltdown. Love it. Yeah.
Perfect narrative. Team narrative.
Yeah, team narrative. Isn't it great? Man, I actually had another question I was going to ask you guys building off the Lumineth thing, but I've lost the point now, so...
Can I say there was a really good comment that I saw that Cities is 1,000% an enjoyable track?
Yeah, that was Coach. It's just okay.
Yeah.
That
was good.
The contracts, what Catacross is reading in his model. Yeah, he's... Exactly, like he's got the... Except he's not reading it, he's like looking past it, and the guy's like, Sir, we've brought you the contract, and he's just like looking listlessly over the battlefield, and he's like, man, I could build so many great bridges if people just paid their taxes, but nobody understands me.
And that guy dies before he's done reading too.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
Guess I'll fight.
Or like, or Haywo's take. He's like, Sir, Vandus Hammerhand sends a missive. He says you ate shit. And like, like, Catacross looks over. Send. Take a memo. Tell Vandus you a bitch. Like, just like.
Write this down.
Write this down. Crowbro, send the missive. Like, just like, Vandus gets the like scroll. Catacross! Like, just like.
There's just so much going on that model that there's like this like separate scene playing out that has nothing to do with whatever game you're playing.
Yeah, well, whatever's going on. Well, because I mean, they even in the Wrath of the Everchosen, I don't know if y'all did a deep dive on that. Like, they really, you know, me making fun of Archeon aside, I think they did a good job of making the Bone Daddies like come off looking strong, even though they kind of ultimately like jobbed. But like even like in the like fight, I think it's been long enough I can spoil it a little bit. Catacross is just like Catacross is like he's not fighting Archeon to beat him. He's fighting him to like get in his head and learn his weaknesses. Right. He's already got what he wanted. He's like, and that's one of the things where we're like they do a really good job with Nagash and like a lot of these like great iconic death heroes. And I know we're all mad at my army right now, but soon you won't be. You'll be mad at Tzeentch. Like, or dinosaurs, who knows? Like, like they do a really good job of like showing that death isn't a consequence to the army that is death. You know, like, of course, death isn't the, like, you know, like when you write a story about a mortal hero, death is a threat that they have to live with, right? Like the threat of death. And this is the lead I buried is about Stormcast. Like, they do a really nice job of like, oh, death isn't the consequence, but like Nagash failed his Black Pyramid. Oh yeah, there's just a black hole in the middle of Shyish now. Like, that's kind of a big deal. That really sucks. So like, yeah, he can't die, but his realm is being slowly swallowed whole. The thing that he derives all his power from. This is kind of a problem. Like, they do that really nice, and they did it really well with Catacross, where it's like show him playing for the long game. Like,
but he's also like, ow.
Yeah, he's like, okay, yeah. Like, he takes the hit, and then so on. So I thought that was really cool. What I was saying about Stormcast is I think Stormcast make a great hero for this setting in that respect. And I know order doesn't mean good guys. I get it. Like, we can talk about moral relativity later. Like, but I'll do a different RantCast for that. But, like, you have this, like, okay, they don't die. Every time they fight, it's the Battle of Thermopylae. It's 300 of them versus thousands upon thousands of demons and shit. And then they die and they get reforged. And, like, they lose... This is that immortality isn't so immortal for them. When they get reforged, they lose something. You know? So, like, they're always paying this price to be a badass. To just be the best hero possible. And, like, they're losing the most important thing, which is them. You know, what makes them a hero. Especially with that, like... the one Stormhost or whatever is, like, the original... Stormhost. It's like all the revolutionaries. It's like Joan of Arc joins up with like Guy Fawkes to fight a revolution. The Stormhost, like they're like losing their identity. They fought thousands of battles. Like they're barely themselves anymore. And what I think would be, yeah. I'm sorry. What was that, Jack?
I said they're just like automatons.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. They're just these like automatons. And what I think would be really cool is if we get a wave 2, like we get the next Stormcast book. I think the community's like, okay, you can have one. You gave us a year off. Like,
no new models for a year. We're good.
Okay, or Cities of Sigmar was their new book because you just play them in Cities of Sigmar. But like, if we get this new book, what I want to see is now that we've kind of like begun to figure out sub factions and I think we're getting cooler with the battle tomes, like the point you brought up really, really early on, Brent, with the Coalesced versus the Starborn. We've gotten a lot better at this, or I say we, it's Games Workshop. Games Workshop's gotten a lot better at it. I would love to see, but us yelling at them through our microphones on the internet has made them better.
Tweeting Sam Pearson. No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but what I want to see is like a Stormhost that's like Battle Shock immune because they've lost their like identity, you know, like I would love to, like like people are like, well, why don't the Immortal Warriors? Why aren't they Battle Shock immune like Ossiarch Bone Reapers? And I'm like, couple points. First of all, it was Death thing first, and everyone else got it, so we had to get it better. Hashtag shameless Homer. But like, I think that like taking a Battle Shock test, and we see this with Starborn, with the Starborn too. They're basically, you know, leadership 10, right? Like, because they're not even really corporeal, they're not even really real anymore. Like, it's just the will of some star god essentially bringing them into existence. Like, that's cool, and it reflects in their bravery score. Why do Stormcast still take bravery tests? Because they're still human. And so what I want to see is that like that like one sub faction that doesn't take Battle Shock, they're Battle Shock immune as a faction or a sub faction, as a storm host, whatever. Because like the implication being they're not human anymore. They've been reforged so many times, they've completely lost themselves.
They've been like discarded from the other storm.
Yeah,
because they're no longer like, you don't really fit in here.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily want Chaos Stormcast. I think that's kind of stupid. But like, you know, if you want to convert them that way, that's really cool. But like, I would love to see a loss of humanity as like a long con sort of narrative. I think that'd be just awesome. But that's because there are
like just the joke version of getting reforged. Like if the Stormcast was like a painter before, and then he dies and he comes back, sucks. Like, or like can only draw like stick figures.
But that's so soul crushing. Just think about the implication. Like, you're like this amazing fighter dude who like picks up a pitchfork and like kills 100 like bloodletters. You're just a normal dude, and like your soul's about to go to Nagash where it belongs because he is. and then Sigmar's just like, nope, it's mine's now. Like the Michael Shea joke, it's mine's now, and he just like takes it. And you're like, and like Nagash is just like, Sigmar, like, because you stole a soul out of the rotation, man. And then he like reforges it into like a walking mountain of a man that just kills everything forever. This Stormcast Eternal, and like, yeah, like he picked up a pitchfork and defended the town. And he showed he had great soul stuff, and he was a pure hero. But like, he was also like just like a freaking painter. And so, like, now his identity becomes murder everything forever to save the world. Oh, and by the way, every time you die, you're going to be a worse painter. That's so brutal.
Or the guy with the pitchfork then has lost his ability or his skills in animal husbandry.
Yeah, like, no, I used to be able to talk to sheep. They understood me. Like, he goes to pet a sheep and it bites him, and he, like, realizes that's the moment he lost his soul. Like, oh.
Am I even human anymore?
Yeah, like, just like listlessly staring off. Like, am I even human if I can't herd sheep? Like, what does it mean to be a human? Like, it's cool. Like, I think it's cool. I will defend Stormcast, even though I'm supposed to hate them forever.
Why has Sigmar cursed me with his
Yeah. Yeah. Why has he made me a 10-foot tall walking badass who can only murder? Why? Like,
I wanted to be a teacher.
All right, man. Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, any closing thoughts on Seraphon from either of y'all?
I think they are. Yeah, they reside in the top of the. I wouldn't put them up there with HOB players.
You don't think they're at the top?
I think Seraphon is a great narrative book.
There you go. So you're not competitively, you're not putting them up there in S tier, but you think you cut out a little bit there.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I think they're like right below, like 4th place, so right behind Zinch, OBR, and Fire Slayers.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right around there.
It's B+.
And I'll just say they're a great narrative book.
Perfect.
Casual players will very much enjoy this book.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Anything any final digital soapbox moments either of you got to get off your chest? Anything you want to go off script on?
We'll be trying to put together that new seasons format, so look out for that pretty soon. We finished up the terrain for it, and we've got a couple models that we're doing. It's like custom, like I got like a converted Knight Incantor fireball. Just doing some fun stuff like that for the campaign, and we'll get that started soon.
Yeah.
Do you have a tentative timeline when we can expect to see that?
Let's hope by the end of the month. Let's see.
Oh, wow. So an ambitious end of the month. All right.
Yeah.
Anything?
I put a soft date on it. Now we actually got to deliver.
Oh, yeah. See, I mean, deadlines, they help us all.
Yeah, that's kind of really helped too. So,
It's like actually.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to reset that earlier while we're on it. Like, we may not have Adepticon, but I think a lot of the content creators, y'all are part of it. AOS Coach, who's sitting here in chat gang right now. Martin Orlando, Warhammer Weekly, Doug 2 Plus Tough, like tons of content creators are. We're gonna try to throw something together so that you still have an awesome, fun, and exciting weekend of just Warhammer, and you have a good excuse to use those vacation days you already used. You're not gonna give them back. Take the U time unless you need to make the money. But take the time. We're gonna try to throw something together. More on that. There'll be some hashtags. Watch Twitter. Watch our shows. I'm sure anyone who's got a show or cast coming out anytime in the relative future is gonna talk a little bit more about it. So,
cool.
Do you mean the cake? Asks Classy Hat Split. Look forward to the cake. The cake is a lie. So the yeah, I love.
So when you see then we finish the train. It is now the most desolate and awful looking cake. It looked truly like the worst place to live.
It looked appealing as cake when we thought it was cake.
Now it has burnt trees and it's just this this awful red. It's great.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
I really like it.
I like the idea of an April Fool's. You don't even have to give credit to anybody. Do an April Fool's episode, do the army switch thing, and have just a cake. Just go to Walmart, whatever, or Trader Joe's, because you're in the Pacific Northwest.
I'm on top of the cake. I get +1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the grocery store and have a Minions cake custom made.
There you go.
Garrison the cake.
You absolutely can garrison.
You can garrison the cake. The cake is a lie. People have -1 to hit you when you're, an additional -1. It's just got that terrain feature. Oh man, that'd be great. Anything y'all want to put on blast?
Cake.
Ooh.
Anything y'all want to put on blast?
Ooh, no, just
no. All right.
Having us on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun.
Check out Rerolling Ones. 2 Plus Stuff. That's without Doug, there'd be no us kind of.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And if they want to,
why not? That's my AOS Sherpa. I follow those guys. They Vin, Tom, great.
Yeah.
And hopefully Haywo makes. Good luck, Haywo.
I'll get on Haywo's case. Tell him to make more content. Even the world. I think he's just a master of figuring out when it's his time to pick a shot. He's just that sharpshooter on the line. He's just no, now it is time. And he clicks the button and uploads the video, and we're just all yes, I've needed it in my life. Yeah, so I'll get on Haywo a little bit. And then if they want to talk to you, Jack, if they want to argue with you about Selesky on Twitter, who do they at?
Yeah. I'm at Rerolling Ones because I'm using the channel Twitter. Why not? And yeah, if you're people are in the Seattle area, I'm fine with people coming over to my house to film that. My kids don't live here, so Shu's kids live at his.
Yeah.
He's not a.
Careful, I might.
Divorced parent like me, but so yeah. Rerolling Ones, Jack. What you got?
I'm at Brent RR1, and I post incredibly slow hobby progress and jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And the channel on YouTube is Rerolling Ones. I normally don't do the self-aggrandizing, self-shoutouts things on my own show, but I really do want to call out the Tomb King Tristan. He was here in chat gang earlier. He's got a new show. He's got 6 episodes, little 6-minute, 7-minute episodes. If you love RantCast, you'll like this more by a multiplicative amount. So we're at approaching 3 hours now of a show. The amount of time that was spent between 6 minutes in is just a multiplier to how great his show is, because he condenses it down. Little 6-minute episodes, talks about a battle plan, talks about an army strat or a strategy for a unit. Really nice little morsels, just brimming with his passion for the game. Tristan's a great dude. Check out that show. It's called Taking the Charge. He's also a big basketball fan. Little double entendre there. So check that out. Yeah. And then Sean Benson. This is on. This is gonna be available on Anchor, Anchor FM. Then it gets exported to like through the RSS feed to Castbox, Podbean, so on and so forth. I wasn't trying to sell you guys on it, but yeah, if you want to check him out, that's flattering. And then the other one would be Sean Benson down in Australia. He's got another short form podcast. His runs about half an hour. He's got about 5 episodes, and he's doing AOS adjacent content. So a little bit of what RantCast tries to do, where we talk about the other stuff we love surrounding RantCast. So he's had an episode on organization. He had an episode on like actually Tristan's love of basketball. He just did CrossFit. So he's doing some of these like sort of like adjacent subjects. It's really, really great. I seriously recommend them, especially if you just like, if you're like, man, I just need that like that bus ride amount of content, because RantCast, I get it, I'm along, man. But if you need that other thing, like they're really good stuff. So, and they're both great dudes. So yeah. Brent, Jack, man, thank you so much for being on. I think I'm gonna have to make a trip over there. I think I'm gonna have to make a trip over there. I know there's a Burning Cat Festival. The dudes who do the Oatmeals card game, what is it, Exploding Kittens and stuff. He's trying to do an expo this year. Maybe if I line that up, come in, film a bat rep of taking this Packers Seahawks rivalry to the table. Yeah. I have to repaint my entire army, but maybe make that happen. Again, thank you all for being on. This was a blast. And chat gang, thank you so much. You're the show within a show. You keep us going. We'll catch you all later.